Hey everybody! So today's video is sponsored by Kleenex, apparently, because we're featuring the box of tissues. uh, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. I might cry. I'm just playing. I'm not. Hopefully, I mean, if I do, then it's whatever. So, oh, so girl, Miss Remy Healings just uploaded a Goddess Ishtar Nana video. Inanna Ishtar, sorry. And I was like, yes. And so I know sometimes I'm vague about some things for a little bit, and then I like say what it was. So a few weeks ago, I had a dream that, like, I've told y'all about. I've talked about the dream before and how it was like last year. I was like, you know what? I'm over the collective. I like if there is a way to split a timeline, like I would very much so like to know how that's done. So I was like, okay, well, that's the thing I'm going to go looking for in my dreams. I'm going to go looking for a way to split timelines. And that's when I was directed to the mountain, but I couldn't approach the mountain. I got sidetracked every time. And the part I didn't talk about in that dream was for the first part of the dream, every time I made it out of the building from the elevator shaft and tried to start heading in the direction of the mountain, I would wake back up in the elevator shaft. But after a certain point, it's like I woke up in a little boy's body. And that was one of the first dreams that I had where I interacted with people in the dream in a different way than I typically do. One second. Because then I was like, because I remember he had a sister. And I told his sister, I'm like, I am not your brother. Like, I'm a dude having a dream. And for some reason, I keep waking up here in this body. And I think the boy was like the son of a pastor or a preacher. And there were like different people in the congregation or whatever. I don't know. I don't remember. And it was like getting to know them. And there were some things, because he was younger, there were some things that he would experience that he wouldn't have the context to know of, like what was actually happening. But whenever I was there in the dream, I was like, oh yeah, no, this is weird. Like, no, it's like something is off here, or like this person needs something. And I don't know if I can't remember if I was like waking up in real life and going back to sleep and having these dreams, but I kept waking up in this little boy body. And so I told his sister, I was like, hey, look, like, I don't know why this is happening, but I'm not your brother. And she was like, okay, like, don't be weird. Well, she wasn't like, don't be weird. She just like didn't take me seriously. And I was like, really, like, I'm not your brother and I'll prove it to you. And there's something that I told her that there's no way her little brother would have known. And then she listened to me. She was like, oh, you're really not my brother. I was like, yeah, girl, that's what I've been trying to tell you. Keep up, pay attention. And so there was something that I can't remember if I helped her with it, if I helped him with it, or if I helped their family with it from the space of like occupying his body in the dream. But I'm looking for my water. Here we go. But after it was resolved, then I wasn't waking up in his body anymore. And then I actually met him. I'm like, oh, hey, like you're the kid whose body I kept waking up in. That was weird. What was that about? And he was like, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, oh, I guess it's cool that we get to meet finally instead of me just like walking around dreaming that I'm some child. And I think this was maybe 2 years ago. I don't even remember if I recorded that dream. Also, my old reading glasses broke. They were only $1 from the Dollar General, right? So I went to go buy some more, and I found these glasses that match my armpits. So I had to get them. I kind of like them, honestly. A little pop of color on the side, you know what I mean? And like the frames are a little different. I'm high key into it. I don't think I recorded that dream though. But I do remember, so after we worked through whatever we had to work through together, I met him in a dream, and it was in the elevator lobby of that building. Um, and I can't remember if he asked me something or if I just volunteered. I was like, okay, well, like I'm gonna teach you how I navigate the dream space. There are probably plenty of ways to navigate the dream space, and like this is the route I taught him. So the way I told him to navigate the dream space is to ask from the space of the dream. You pose a question to basically the universe, and then you wait for the sign or you wait for the person to direct you. So I've also talked about this dream recently, and I don't want to be a creep, but it's just so weird and interesting. If you go back probably a few weeks, because I've talked about this dream recently, and this dream, the dream that I'm about to talk about, and this dream, and how I navigate dreams by asking questions, and then someone will find something, and then they'll take me on my way. And he wanted to go to Africa or see Africa for some reason, and we didn't end up in Africa. I was just like, okay. And so we were directed and towards a different way in the elevator lobby instead of like going out the way I kept going to try to get to the mountain. And we ended up in some kind of like it was like if there was a zoo or a museum, but more like a zoo. And they had different parts dedicated to like different areas around the world. And he apparently knew a lot about the animals in Africa. And I remember in the dream, he talked about the stingray. And I was like, what? They have stingrays in Africa? So I Googled it when I woke up. And yeah, they have like stingrays in the rivers in like Nigeria and in a few other countries in Africa. I was like, I didn't even know they had stingrays in rivers in Nigeria. Like, oh my gosh, the river? Like, I guess they got gators in Florida. So I was like, oh, and he knew a lot. And he was like, he was happy. He like went up and he was like, oh, they got these and they have these. And he was giving his whole little thing. And some of the animals he were talking about, I'm like, are those even real? Like, is that a real animal? Like, do you live in some alternate version of Earth? Is this just a really weird dream? But I had that dream. Anyway, and then Miss Reem just uploaded the video about goddess Inanna Ishtar. And it's interesting because today, when I did the weekly release, I was like, I'll choose a number between 1 and 399, even though after the world card, like it technically ends at 300 because that's the world. But I'll stretch it beyond just to allow some like energy in that lies beyond the world. And then I got number 303. So 300 was the world. The three was the Empress. The Empress in the traditional Rider Waite is the representation of Inanna Ishtar. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what? That Empress came out, and I didn't realize it until I was like halfway through or like half an hour through the video. I was like, wait, the Empress is Inanna Ishtar. She was the singular energy that came in after the world, like beyond. I was like, what? And also, I'm going to talk about a lot of weird stuff or happenings at the beginning of this, and then I'm going to pose a question to Siri. Either I'm going to do that communication thing between the strongholds and the archangels, or I'll pull a few cards for the new moon and do the thing that I used to do. I did it a few times, honestly, because that happened. And so, yeah, I was like, oh, wow, that's like crazy. And so, before I talk about that, because I probably won't forget, I've talked about excuse me. I need to stop drinking all this water, or I'll have to go to the restroom. Um, so last time I talked about this dream, I also talked about the dream where I first started using dream people to navigate the dream space. Because in my first lucid dream, it was like completely lucid. I was like, I want to go here. I turn around in the dream, I'm there. It's like, I need somebody to show me around this place. I turn around in the dream, somebody is there. And then when there was a city that I would dream in constantly for a brief period of time, And for whatever reason, when I was in that city in the dream, I would know that I was dreaming. And I had a lot of dreams in that space. And so one day I was looking for something, looking for the message that the dream character who used to be a recurring character left, the wolf in the dream, the big black wolf. And I was in the city, and that's when I was like, okay, like I need to find like a spirit guide, right? And then that's when I noticed someone in the dream actually get a notification. Oh my gosh, this is what I'm talking about. This is the weird thing. He got a notification on his phone and he was confused. I was like, oh, like, did you just get a notification to direct and guide someone somewhere? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, I'm the person and I need you to like guide me. And he was like, I don't know where to go. I was like, girl, you ain't got to know. Wherever you feel led, let's go there. And we went to a restaurant. This is funny. We went to a restaurant and I walk in, I look to the right. There are a lot of full tables, but there are two tables, each with a seat that's not there. One of the people from a table next to an empty seat grabs my attention. And I go and I sit next to her, and she introduces herself to me. And I remembered what she looked like. And then, like, after I talked about that dream, and again, like, I don't know if I'm a weirdo. I don't know if you're going to see this. And like, so the person I said, like, she reminds me of the, I'll show you the card. Because I was like, she kind of reminds me of the Angel of Love in the Energy Oracle cards. And the last time I talked about this dream, not too long ago, I was like, I wonder if like some of the people in the dream are people that I'm gonna meet like in real life. And the girl that I talked to in the dream, like I promise she looked just like Amanda from Anam Cara Messages. Like here's the Angel of Love. All I remembered was that like that long red hair and the like an energy that felt familiar. And I was like, oh, like what are you like the guide of? And she said something. I was like, oh, well, like for the upper majority of my life, that's not something that I really needed or an energy that I engaged in. And then she was like, oh, but more recently I'm doing this. I'm like, oh, like, okay. And when I had wondered if I would meet somebody from the dream, I didn't think it would be like one of the people who represented a guide. But I promise it looked just like Amanda. I'm like, that's why, like, when I saw her first reply, or when she commented, I was like, okay. And then when I clicked through to her channel, and also I have like Irish ancestry. One of my several great grand uncles was three-fourths Cherokee and one-fourth Irish, a quarter Irish. And I've been really interested in like the Gaelic or Gaeilge part of that and like the Irish part of my ancestry. And I was literally just talking to one of my friends about how like I want to follow it and go to Ireland. And then after I'm talking about the dream, after I'm like talking about Ireland again, here comes the message, and I'm looking, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, wait. And then I was like, wait, hold up. Like, no. But maybe that guy took the guise of Amanda. So when I came across her, it'd be like bing bing bing, like, hey. Cause I was like, that's another reason why like I'm just like, I don't know. I know I'm weird. It's fine. But going back to that, how I navigate dreams, also going back to when I was like, it's kind of creepy that sometimes the divine can just use people to give us a message. Like you can be walking and someone comes up to you and they say something. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like how did you know? Or like, why did you say that in particular? And they're like, I was just given the message and told to give it to you. And I was like, oop, oop, oop. I was like, isn't that a little creepy? The door to romance at the bottom of the deck. Door to romance open, the garden and the gate. Oh, okay. And a card that fell on the floor. I asked these cards not to go on the floor because then I end up with incomplete text. Attachment, I picked it up in reverse. This is an all upright deck right now. So if it wouldn't have come out, or if it wouldn't have fallen out on the floor, it probably would have fell out upright. Bottom of the deck is Door to Romance, The Garden and the Gate, Caring Connections, Envy, Journey, Door to Value, First Chakra Archangel Michael, Cornucopia, Hostilities, Attachment in Reverse. That's interesting. So anyway, yeah, I think I met one of the dream people, and that's one thing. So going back to the other thing I was talking about. So in the store, I was just in the grocery store with my brother because my parents needed some stuff. We got a lot of fruit today. I'm like, okay, like pears were on the list. I was like, we haven't had pears in forever. So we're going to check out, and there's this girl who I don't think I've ever seen in Walmart. And we're checking out, and she comes by the counter, and she's like, "Hey, Patrick, can you help me with something?" And she stood there for a second. Then I look at her, expecting like something more, and I was like, "Huh?" And she stood there for a second, and then she like walked back. Then she just stood there, and I'm like, maybe I just misheard something. But I was with my brother, so thank goodness he was there. And my brother was like, "Oh, I thought I just heard your name." I was like, "Yeah, me too." And he was like, "I thought she said, Patrick, can you help me with something?" I'm like, "Okay, thank you. So I'm not crazy." And so I keep like looking at her like, "Are you going to ask me to help you with anything?" But she never did. And we walked out the store and she didn't stop me or anything. I was just like, okay, that was weird. I was like, does somebody need my help with something? So anyway, and then I come home. We got some Arby's on the way back, so I ate some Arby's, and I was like, "Oh, well, let me pull up YouTube." And then that's when I saw the video from Miss Remy uploaded. I was like, "Oh snap, that's cool." And so I watched that, and she talked about Goddess Inanna Ishtar, um, and I did a weekly release today, and things got a little spicy, and I'm not supposed to be too spicy right now. So a few weeks ago, I got a dream from Kali Ma, and Kali Ma, like Kali, is someone who's made appearances in dreams before. Like usually it's a name, or like one time I drew 3 cards and it was um Vishnu, Kali, and Fireproof. And I was like, what? And then I looked, it was Vishnu, Kali, and Waterproof. So the Fireproof card had turned into Waterproof, but Vishnu and Kali were the same. I didn't really get anywhere with that. I'm just like, okay. Another time it was um last year. I remember it's when Russ was in the Virgo, when Russ was at the Hermit Hideaway. And one night I had a dream. I went looking for something in a dream and I stumbled upon a space between spaces. And it's interesting because in a dream, it's like you would assume that every space is a space between spaces, but it was like a space between dream spaces. And I was like flying around and I was hit with like so much vertigo. Like in the dream, I'm just like so disoriented. Everything is spinning. So I had to ultra ground myself and like condense myself. Like if I didn't have a physical body, it's like condensing myself into a single like atom and ground myself and then expand back out just to like land in this space. And I remember it was like a pretty open space. Like if you've ever seen that one episode of SpongeBob where Squidward wants to be alone and he ends up in that white space where everything is just white. It was like that, but I remember there being like a tile pattern on the floor. And there was a woman sitting there at a table, and there were like 2 people off to the side. Like she had 2 attendants. And she just looked at me and smiled. Like, oh my gosh, you found this space. And I was like, I looked at her. That was weird. I looked at her and I instantly recognized that like she was me or that we were the same person. But in the dream, she didn't feel like an aspect of me. And it felt like such a huge part of who I am that I was like, how did I forget you? I was like, wait, like, I was like, I know you. And she was like, yeah, you do. And then, so I'm like in the dream, I'm like trying to guess who she is. And she's just like, okay. Because in the dream, I was like, oh, like in the dream, I remember immediately thinking that she represented an aspect of like my sexuality. But I was like, no, that's not right. Cause she's like, she's not something as flat as just one aspect. Like she is complete. Like this is a complete being that is within me somewhere or that is me in some aspect that is so present and has such a presence that I just completely forgot about. It was like, how does that happen? And then later that day, Russ uploads a reading, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just had this dream last night. What? This is crazy. And I just remember that feeling of like getting super ultra like dizzy and like how disorienting that space was and how hard it was to anchor myself there enough to like walk in it. And then I tried to find her again a few days later, and like I had this whole crazy dream. Right, I'm like helping somebody else do something, and at the tail end of the dream, she pops up, and I was like, "Girl, like I was looking for you, not like whatever all this was about." And she was like, "Don't worry, like we'll meet when we meet." I was like, "Okay." And I remembered in the dream that she looked like Persian or like Middle Eastern or something like that, like from that area region. It wasn't like a super distinct look, but I was like, that was the feeling. It was like somewhere around there. And then, so a few weeks ago, I had the dream where I was like, in the dream, I'm laying in the bed and I heard from Kali Ma. I was like, and she, like, her voice was clear as day. And I was like, oh my gosh, man, I can't believe I can hear you this clearly. And I'm just like freaking out about hearing her more so than actually listening. But what she said in the dream was that because this was after Russ did the video, What's Coming to Your Country, after I got a little, I got triggered. I'll be honest, I was triggered by things that I kind of read that weren't necessarily there. I hope hyper focused on the wrong things. I'll say that. And so I went to bed that night like, are they still not gonna get it? Like, hello? Like, I'm trying to move forward. I'm not trying to keep repeating this stuff or trying to keep leaving stuff undone that we need to do to move forward. Like I'm over that. And in the dream, so I went to bed a little like just irritable. And in the dream, I remember Kali Ma said that like if I were to step in now as I am, then I wouldn't be able to do anything later. Or it was something like that. It was like if I show up now, then who will be there later? Or like I can't be here now and then come later. And it's more important that I'm there later than me to be here doing what you're doing now. And I was like, I didn't really get it in the moment. So I had some people who were positioned to help me out with getting that. And one person in particular, they know who they are. Shout out to you, girl. Helped me. And also I came upon some other things. And it was this energy that was like Kali Ma was so many things. And her energy was so beautiful. But all she's remembered for is like being the goddess of destruction. All she's remembered for is what she did in that Empress card when she when she incarnated to take care of that demon that no other deity at the time had the capabilities to take care of. And then she lost control of herself. And it wasn't until she like stepped on Shiva or something like that that she came back to her senses and when she realized she had gone too far. And so it was that energy of like, especially for me, like I said, a lot of times I can be quick to like frustration. And even in the dream, like here I am, nobody. I'm somebody, but here I am, just a lowly person, and I'm like, okay, spirit, tell me how to separate a timeline. I'm going looking in the dream because I don't want to be here for this. Like I'm done with this, and it's not to do that out of frustration. It's to hold more space. It's to be more compassionate and understanding, to be gentler, to hold more of a divine love that has that divine patience that allows us to try and try and try and try and try without losing an ounce of any of the love that we have. And it's an energy of patience. And then actually, it was later that day when I went on a walk, or the next day. I can't remember if it was the same day or the next day when I got the message, allow the world to be rewritten. And I think it wasn't the same day, because in that day, I was like, that's when I was learning, okay, it's like it's time for me to go to the softer side of my energy and not always be so quick to try to rush to something or to try to like engage in isolation or separation out of a frustration, because that doesn't serve anybody. And if it's a collective effort right now, it's a team effort. Hey, Eve. She helped you a few years ago. Oh, snap. I didn't know that. Maybe that's why we connected. I mean, I would more so say she talked to me than I talked to her. But yeah, because if I could talk back, I'd be like, girl, what do you mean? Well, like, come down here now and we'll worry about later. Um, but it was after I had gotten the message to like go to the softer side, the more inclusive side, the side that creates spaces rather than the side or an energy that will destroy. Because right now it's about more than creating. Everything is already in a space of decay and decline. Everything is already falling apart. And so adding more to that isn't going to give anything beneficial. It's about creating new right now. And after I got that message and I was aligning myself more to that space of inclusion and creation and patience and more compassion and understanding, that I got the message, allow the world to be rewritten. And again, for me to allow the world to be rewritten personally, like this is my own. And that's why, like, I think we all kind of sort of have different roles and different parts. Mine is pretty, I don't want to say it's done. I probably could take it a little easier. Probably wouldn't have to be so whatever. Um, but this is a part of what I'm experiencing. And I was like, through that, you asked her for help and she delivered. You didn't talk to her as more her and your energy field. Yeah. And that's how, like, that was recently. Like, she would just pop up. And ever since I heard about Kali in my freshman year of high school in the world history class, I've always gravitated to her. Kali and Ganesha were the two that I've always gravitated towards more than anything. Honestly, was more so Kali. Ganesha happened when I started my journey. So like 2018, around November. Yeah, it was November because I got the Wada known animal spirits, and one of the first cards that came out was the elephant, and in the book she referenced Ganesha. I was like, oh, Ganesha, like he's one that I know of. He's pretty cool. And then I went to London with my buddy a few days after that. And when we were there, we watched Growing Up Smith, and in the movie for Halloween, he was Ganesha. So yeah, Ganesha started when I actually started my spiritual journey. Kali's always been an energy that I've sort of gravitated towards. And then she's been more and more present like recently. The most present a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, what? I can hear you. I hear you. So it was after that, after I learned to be in that more open facet of my energy, I guess, the more creative side of my energy, that I got that allow the world to be rewritten. And to continue for me to allow the world to be rewritten, I have to continue to have that patience. And I can't be so quick to try to like pull my energy out whenever something happens that I don't like. And honestly, in my shadow, that's one of the not great characteristics that I have. Um, which is probably why, like, if like there's a game or something that we're doing, it's probably best that I don't own it, because what happens more often than not is not more often than not, but on a few occasions it's happened that it's like I want to play something with somebody, so I'll be the one to get it. and like we're all having a good time, and then I feel cheated, I get mad, I'm like, I don't want to play anymore, I'm taking my game and I'm going home, or I'm taking my game and I'm going to sleep. And then it's like I take it away from everybody, and it's like it's not to do that. I can't just like pull out right now. It's important that this collective effort remain collective, girl. And I want to see us all. I haven't. Yeah, Krishna isn't one that I've ever experienced personally. Krishna is one that I feel like I'll like hear about sometimes, or somebody be like, "Oh, it's Krishna," or "Is that Krishna?" or I'll see Krishna, but I don't feel the same connection to Krishna as I do with Ganesha or Kali. It's not that I'm not like supposed to expand into that because I just saw Krishna recently. I was like, "Oh, that's Krishna and Lakshmi." And then I feel like I saw Krishna after that too. Now my head is starting to hurt. I don't know. Technically, no. Maybe like floating around, but personally, no. Not me, at least. So yeah, when she uploaded that reading, I was like, "What?" And there was a part when she was like, Inanna Ishtar can like create in one breath. She can create or destroy with a single like glance or something like that. And after I did the weekly release earlier, I was like, "Oh, I'm supposed to be in the brighter side of my energy." And honestly, what I've witnessed so far is that it's beautiful. Oh no, it's fine. I'm okay. Whenever I get a headache, I'll say it. I'll say it just to say it, but it's fine. Usually, when I get a headache, it's like, okay, this is something to dig into. Let's breathe and let's make some space so I can unpack this. And then, if I like give it more of my attention, sometimes it's not as bad. But yeah, don't worry about it. Oh, I didn't mean like a headache in a bad way. Um, because I know like some of the energies that I talk about now, it's like I can talk about them now in the way that I talk about them, some of them. But when they first started coming through, I was like, oh, my head is starting to hurt. Like, what is this? Like, what is this? Or like sometimes I'll just get hot or I'll get hungry. Excuse me. Recently, I've started to get dizzy. And when I start to get dizzy, and I've only noticed it like the last time it happened, it doesn't happen very often at all. But when I start to get dizzy, that's when like a goddess energy kind of sort of starts to fall in. Cause like I said in that dream, like it was so hard for me to like ground myself in that space. And again, I didn't realize it until the last time, but I was working with somebody. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to get a headache. And I was like, oh, I'm starting to get a little dizzy. I was like, "Oof, let me breathe." And then after it, because then a goddess energy came up. I was like, "Oh my gosh!" But then I'm just like, "Well, like, what do I do with this information?" Like, okay, what do I do with this? But it was after talking about it, and again, like, I don't want to be like, "Oh my gosh, I feel the energy of a goddess here," because as authentic as I am, and the safer side of my energy, the part that I'm exploring into more, the part that I'm delving into more, like it's some of the reservation has shifted over there. So now I can talk about all of this fine, but where like my expanding edge is, that's where like a little bit of that reservedness still is. And so that's why I was like, well, I wasn't just going to say it, but the other person was feeling the energy as well. And that's when I remembered the dream in which I met that goddess. And again, like how difficult it was to ground in that space and how like dizzy I was. So again, like I said, I don't feel dizzy too often. And I don't know if there's been a lot of like God deity energies to know if it would be the same feeling. Mostly it's goddesses, which for me isn't surprising because. But anyway, So that came out, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be a little nicer. I'm supposed to be more Anana than Ishtar right now. Don't want to be super aggressive or like destroy anything. And that's when I started to say, like, I feel like this is something new for me in that space. Because a lot of times it's like, and I've talked about it before, my energy is one that can be very like abundant or fertile, or it can bring lots of fortune to people in my environment. It seems like it can bring more fortune to people in my environment than it brings to me myself. But also, I had a journey of self-love to go on. So hoping to turn some of that fortune inward and to experience it personally. But that is one of the aspects of my energy. Also, like I said earlier, for some reason with some things, it's like I can determine if there's like a resonance disconnect somewhere, because it's like I'll be in line with it. I'm also decent at like matching or finding a frequency. And then it's like when the distortions start to come out, I'm like, wait, something here doesn't like make sense. Also, apparently, I'm pretty good at like knowing when something will fail because of human error or because of carelessness. Um, and that's something I found out through work more so than anything, which makes sense. Excuse me. I don't remember. Yeah. So I have this naturally. You've been heating up lately. Weird, but your feet get hot when you do readings lately. Not sure what that means though. I feel like I just kind of sort of naturally, I guess, in some ways picked it up. I'm not sure what that is either. But if you find out, like our bodies are so intuitive and our bodies naturally respond to energy in ways that our brain can't necessarily understand. Necessarily. So we discover it. It means something. Um but yes, she was like, Patrick, can you help me? And I'm like, what? I was like, excuse me? Like, I don't even know you, girl. And I don't work here. So, like, I don't know what you would need my help with. And then she just walked off like she ain't say nothing. And like, if I was there by myself, I would have been like, did that really happen? But my brother is the one that was like, that's weird. I thought I just heard your name. Like, I thought I just heard, like, Patrick, can you help me? I was like, yeah, me too. What is going on? Who needs my help? It's like, who is using this girl? Who is using this girl? Um, but yeah, so it was Goddess Kalima that came to me. That was like, and she was basically like, and again, like when I got the message, it really felt that like a challenge to shift into the other side of my energy, a challenge to stand more in those frequencies of love, compassion, and abundance. A challenge to, I feel weird saying a challenge to learn grace, but it's not grace, it's more so patience than anything else. Patience has always been something that I struggle with since I was a child. And a lack of patience got me in a lot of trouble when I was young. So I've forced myself to be patient in a lot of ways. In a lot of small, everyday, like sixth housey type of ways. Like on campus, one of the things that I would do to practice patience was like, regardless of if there were cars coming or not, I would wait for the Walkman to pop up before I crossed the street because it was an opportunity to practice patience. If there were other things that I could wait for instead of like getting it immediately, I would practice patience. One time, maybe twice on Amazon. I have Amazon Prime, but instead of Prime shipping, I chose regular shipping. And then I got like $1 credit digital that I never used as an opportunity to practice patience. And as good as I've gotten with patience in some ways, I can still be really short with it in others. And again, like what's the most important is like it's less the now, more than what we're coming into. And if I pull out now, then I would be cheating myself out of a lot of stuff and doing the collective a disservice. So Also, see the message from the red-winged blackbird about having patience and holding space. So the fact that the red-winged blackbird came out, and then Inanna Ishtar, and the whole thing about how she can be either, but for me, it's about like learning to be more like my more so is in the space of compassion, and I can leave the energy of aggression behind. That didn't come until I started doing my like Chiron healing and my North Node following. When I started really using my more authentic voice. And like I have a second channel. I don't use it too much lately, but when I was first coming into my voice, I would upload a lot more on that channel. Because it was a space where I wasn't found. And so I felt more free to be just like completely 100% authentically me and like talk about anything that came up. Because my journey has been an interesting one. I started actually with more starseedy things because I ended up on Cryon somehow. Don't remember how I ended up on Cryon. And then that introduced Pleiades and Pleiadians and things like that. Then I ended up on Unite the Collective somehow. Don't remember. And that introduced more star races. That's how I found Light Star. And then I got her deck, the Magical Dimensions Oracle cards and activators. I listened to maybe one or two of the sound healings, and that was it. And then after that, I shifted more into astrology. From astrology, that's where I actually had my introduction to the YouTube tarot world. So I went from astrology to tarot, and then I guess I'm kind of still here? Question mark? Maybe. I'd say it's more of a spiritual space where tarot is used. Um, and before that, one of the first things I came across was like ayahuasca and plant medicines. And I've never had a personal interest in it because for me, myself personally, like I want to have a connection that is more consistent and it's not based around a certain environment. Um, like I want a connection that I continue to take with me. And like I said, I've always been spiritual. You started with Starseed and then Tarot. Oh, yeah. See, and that I never talk about all the Starseed stuff. Or if I do, I very rarely talk about it. And I remember like back in the day, I was like, I feel like I resonate most with like Orion and Arcturus. And then like whenever it was something Pleiadian, I would like slightly roll my eyes and I'm like, the earth is falling apart, Pleiadians. We don't need more live and like we need some realism. We need a healthy dose of like actually doing something to change things. And then after a while, after a little bit more, I found myself like shifting back into that like love and light. And I'm like, oh, am I becoming like more Pleiadian? It's fine. Arcturian in the house. Yeah, like Arcturus and Orion were the two that really resonated for me the most. I haven't seen too much of either lately. Um, yeah. So on the other channel, I was looking at the cards on the table. On the other channel, it's like I talked about a lot of that even more. You're drawn to Orion. Oh, see, maybe there's a connection there. I think Consciousness Evolution Journey in one of her videos established a connection or talked about a connection between the Pleiadians and Orion, but I don't think Arcturus was there in that one either. Um, so yeah, on that channel, I was just like talking about everything. That's like I had a video up briefly because I was gonna like shut this channel down and then just migrate over there. And then once I got so far into using my voice, since the platform is larger over here relatively, I felt more of an obligation to start using my voice here. And so I had this very sort of behind the scenes, almost roundabout way of finding my authentic voice. And again, like I said, like the things further out on the growth edge, like you may see me comment something somewhere but I don't necessarily too much talk about. I had a dream where, I met a goddess and she was me question mark or I was her question mark. I didn't talk like I'm just now saying like it was Kali Ma who came to me in a dream. Um so much strength a couple decades ago. Love stargazing. I should go out stargazing more. Now that I can see the stars, right? um but yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting dream. And then I kind of sort of forgot about it. What is this on the table? The energy here overall is gorgeous besides envy and hostilities. Again, the bottom of the deck is the door to romance. With the garden and the gate, carrying connections, envy, journey, door to value. Okay. So the garden and the gate in this deck, it's a call to go outside of our comfort zone and to expand because there's more outside in the world than there is in the garden. Carrying connections is a feeling of safeness in that. And somewhere in this carrying connection, envy comes into the picture and it can begin to drive a wedge. Maybe like this is us navigating our own journey into authenticity and whatever or whoever these carrying connections are, we sort of experience or we see their authenticity and that can create a little bit of an envious energy potentially. It doesn't necessarily have to be like super toxic, but it's the beginning of a divide. From that space of a divide, we take a journey to discover our own self worth and to discover our value, to essentially give us permission to be as authentic or as open, as far outside of our own garden as those that we meet outside of the, I guess, universal garden. It's a very spiritually, it's like a spiritual agora energy. I think it was the agora. The agora was the place in Rome or in Roman cities where everyone would meet to like discuss philosophy and trade and like where all the markets were. It's like a spiritual agora. And while you're out in the spiritual agora, you find somebody, but it triggers something within you that then causes you to go on a journey to to open up even more your door to value, aided by Archangel Michael, who's going to the root. So this is some deep triggering within self, things that need to be addressed. And then we sort of encounter this cornucopia and hostilities energy. But I feel like hostilities and cornucopia, it's more of like how we can actively or passively, knowingly or not, diminish our own access to the universal frequency of abundance. But attachment is coming out in reverse. It feels like, honestly, it feels like something in this space was knocked loose. Something in this space was knocked loose. And as we encounter more and more of this energy, eventually it's like it's going to completely detach. It feels like in some ways we were anchored into a space, anchored into thought patterns that we didn't too much like or appreciate. But we couldn't stop ourselves from continuing to sort of like exist in those spaces, or we couldn't like shift our own sort of frame of thought in that space. Let's see. All right. I just wanted to pull the Archangel or the Angel of Love card. Garden in the Gate. It's time to go outside, babes. It's time to see how beautiful the world really is. And the door to value at the bottom of the deck. It's like we're worth so much more. We deserve so much more than like the limited experience that this garden can give us. right? And it's like sometimes we may find ourselves forced out of the garden in some way. I feel like it can happen maybe unintentionally, and then patience. I feel like it can happen maybe unintentionally, and it could be easy for us to feel some kind of pain because of something that happened, but the space is necessary. Honestly, there have been so many times where some things just kind of sort of don't work out. But it's like if things, like if I wasn't given the space to explore everything that I've been exploring, I don't know if I would have reached this point in position. I think I would have been more comfortable or more focused on everything that was already going on, right? Like if I would have graduated on time, maybe I would have never given myself the opportunity to explore what it is that I really want to do, rather than like what it is that I always said that I wanted to do. Yeah. And we all come into it in our own time. But I think it was something that we were in the space of finding, or something that we are finding, but it feels like there's also like an active element right now. I think sometimes when we find the beauty in the world, it can distract us a little bit from what keeps us from experiencing the same internally, if that makes sense. And then it's like, it's an energy, it's like, it's what stagnant energy does. If there's a stagnation, it can sort of like slowly drain the color out of anything. And I think that's when we might hit like a little bit of a tower, or we encounter some kind of challenge, or it's like the inside eventually starts to spill out onto the outside, and then it starts to make everything look weird. So if Siri says heads, I'm going to do the moon thing. If Siri says tails, then I'll do the angel thing. Hey Siri, flip a coin. It's tails. Tails. So we're doing the angel thing. Okay. Work. This is the thing that has been on my mind to do longer anyway. So I'm going to use the Spirit Keeper's Tarot and the Tarot Apocalypsis. The Tarot Apocalypsis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the stronghold. This is going to be a long video. It's already been 53 minutes. That's fine. I'll just timestamp it. So I'm going to use the SKT to place the significators for the strongholds, which are the pages, and the archangels, which are the kings. And because there's this energy that it's like the archangels will send out the pages. And so I want to do like challenge and reward. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to shuffle up this deck. How am I going to do this? Should I go one by one or do them all at once? We're actually going to go element by element. And I don't have my D4. So I'm going to ask Siri to pick a number between 1 and 4. 1 is water, 2 is earth, 3 is air, 4 is fire. And then I'll shuffle up and I'll look before and after those cards. So the card before will be the challenge. The card after will be the reward. I'm going to pull the significators in this deck for more information. And then I want just like one deck for anything to come out of. What's a good clarifier for the SKT? I usually use the wild unknown with the SKT. Is there anything I have that I haven't used recently? The vice verses. I'll use the vice verses. Did I just shuffle the book into this and not even notice? Hello? I just shuffled the book. Okay. So that's what I'm going to do. Because something about the vice verses, I was thinking about them the other day. Something about how they have two. What was it? Oh, I had the thought earlier today. I do. I like the vice verses were one of my favorites, but I struggled to read the book, so that's why I stopped using it as much. And it's in the box down here. I gotta dig the box out. 1 second. I might as well just like leave it out. I used to have it just left out, but then I needed more space, and so I tucked it away. Tucked it away on holiday. Tucked it away. I got a pocket full of sunshine. I got a love, and I know that it's all mine. I want to watch Easy A now. Oh, wow. All right. Oh, please. No, nah, come on. Come on, please. There we go. There we go. I'm actually going to run to the restroom really quick. You've only seen Russ use them. No book necessary. Honestly, for the vice verses, I really love it for the court cards. Because on the court cards, like some of the messages I just love and appreciate so much. And honestly, when my eyes weren't as good, sometimes the messages they'll like hit on things that I would miss in the imagery of the card. So yeah. I was just like, I loved the entries, especially for the reverse side of a lot of the card cards so much. I was like, I just want to read the book. But there was a period of time where I used them without the book. It's not that I need the book. I can read them intuitively, but I just love how some people put things. I have so many tarot decks. It's like, oh my gosh. Ooh, the lovers. Honestly, this lovers card, it reminds me of the magician and the mystical dreams tarot because of that heart space. There's something magician-y in this lovers card. Maybe it's Mercury on the back of the card. But it's like feminine and masculine elements merging together to create something new. Just like a baby. One day, I'm going to have a baby. And you will call her mom. That baby will have a baby, and you will have this song. To know that I am your grandma. I am your grandma. Let's see. Let me get a card before I go to the restroom. Oh, the Queen of Cups. With the back of the High Priestess at the bottom of the deck. This is interesting. Because the Queen of Cups is pre-High Priestess energy. I'm going to forget. My headache is back. So here we go. And Rain mentioned it in her video that spirit is relying on us to do our part. And so the front side of the Queen of Cups with the back side of the High Priestess, it's almost like there are certain things on the ground, on earth, that spirit, it's not that spirit doesn't see it. but spirit doesn't have the context of the earth experience, right? It's almost like if the reason why God sent Jesus was because earth was a lot harder than they thought. And it reminds me of the good place where everybody ends up in the bad place. And it's like, if everybody ends up in the bad place, maybe something about the system isn't quite fair. And again, I feel like it takes out the human element. It takes out the earthen element. Like if Earth has a gravitational pull that is great enough to make angels fall, then like how are humans on the ground supposed to ascend to the ranks where even those up there fall when they get here? And so it's like there's a little bit of disconnect between being in the all and being of the all in an experience that can be so isolatory at times. And so it's almost like we are the legs on the ground. We are the ones who work on this level, who establish the link to higher levels, to it's almost like signing off. It's an authorization. Like someone has to sign for the delivery in order to authorize the delivery. There are things that we need to sign for from spirit in a way that spirit can't do it. Now, the Eight of Cups is also here with the shooting. Hey, look, here's the magician. It's the back of the magician, though. But it's almost like that shooting star energy where it's like, here's our opportunity to make the wish. There's the wish granter. But here is all of this context. Here is all of the things that make it difficult for us to be in a space to sort of see that. And so what it does is it causes us to almost not create or not participate in certain ways. And also it was like the veil of forgetfulness was pretty ingenious. But what it does is it causes it's like it makes it easier for us to forget. Not forget, it makes it harder for us to remember. It's the same. But it's like as someone who grows up and who is raised in this world, there are certain things that, depending on our experience, we may not have access to. And if we don't have access to certain things, then we can't be held liable or responsible for certain things. It's only when we know that we have that responsibility, which is why it wasn't until Adam and Eve ate, well, it wasn't until Adam technically, because Adam was the one who was told that he couldn't eat of it. But it wasn't until they ate from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil that they were responsible then for the repercussions that that knowledge brings. Right. And it was, we could say that it was shame that ultimately got them sort of out of Eden. But also, it's almost like the conception of sin because now the part of us that knows right from wrong is online. And regardless of if we listen to it or not, now it's like instead of just reactions, we also get repercussions. And I'll be right back. I gotta go to the restroom and then I'll get into this. Okay, 1 second. Enjoy Saturn. Ooh, that was a while. Sorry. I went out there to go to the restroom. And then my mom was like, hey, I want an apple. And the first apple wasn't great. So then I had to, she wants an apple and she wants it cut. Oh, you can see all that stuff on my bed. What's that? Oh, this is the box for the Apocalypse. Yeah, let's put this back up. The stars are twinkling. Maybe that's some some Saturnian magic. The blessings of Saturn. Well, my reading glasses are gone. So maybe that's what the Queen of Cups and the High Priestess are talking about. There's a reason why it's important for us to do the things that we need to do. Maybe, potentially, beyond purely the space of free will, right? Because we have free will, spirit can't directly intercede. But if there are a few who are present enough, they can anchor a change. Where are my reading glasses? I think I took them with me. Oh, here they are. They're in my pocket. Okay. So that's this. The vice verses are going to be off to the side to clarify if I need them or want them. So I'm going to give this one more shuffle. Hey Siri, pick a number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 2.
2? Because I got the King of Wands and the Knight of Wands here. Archangel Commander and the Shining Flame. I was like, oh, we can just start with the Wands then. No. They both tried to come out. I'll take them. So we're actually not going to start with Earth. Or we will. There's an energy of rebirth here. After the fire. After the fires. The new Earth. That's what fire makes space for. Fire creates space for a new Earth. It's like the saying that nature abhors a vacuum. Right? They say that nature abhors a vacuum because if there's empty space, nature will eventually grow there. And so it's almost like the energy of the divine shortcut again. This is a utilization of spiritual knowledge in a non-creepy way. There are certain ways that the universe is just naturally set up to be. The Queen of the Queen of Cups realizes or knows what those things are, what those ways are. And she's looking into this cup. This is some kind of Romeo and Juliet type stuff. Archangels and their messengers. Yes, okay. I'll just call it Ramble about stuff. What this is reminding me of is reminding me of Teen Wolf in those spaces where if there was something that they like, if their bodies weren't healing from whatever wound there was, they would like break a bone to trigger the body's natural response to heal. And the way she's looking at that cup, it's almost as if it's poisoned, but she knows that she'll be healed from it. She's triggering a healing in some way that may be very bitter up front, but extremely medicinal. Right? She knows the universal laws. And so in this space, she knows what to do. She knows what she has to do in order to trigger the corresponding reactions. That's why the magician is here. That's why the backside of the magician is here. Because it's not as active. It's not that it's passive, but it relies on the structure of things rather than the creation or the building of something. And in some ways, oh, look at the front of the magician. Maybe that's why the backside of the magician is here, because in this card, they're not looking at the shooting star. So we don't even see the shooting star in the magician. Both of the majors have their backs turned. And then there's minor cup energy or court cup energy. Now, this is also the backside of the Eight of Cups. But even if we look at the front of Eight of Cups, it's still somebody's back. So, oops. But anyway, like, we're facing front. Spirit is showing its back. Almost, yeah, almost in a sense of like, because we already know what we need to do. All that's left is to do it. So there's nothing more for Spirit to do. Now I'm starting to get super warm. It's fine. And I'm out of water. So, okay. I think so. That's what the Knight of Cups and the Archangel of Glory and the Shining Flame. I feel like that's what that energy is about. Sometimes you have to create space before you can create a space. Okay. Look, top of the deck again. Like, I didn't just shuffle this. I'll get to y'all later. If y'all keep it up, you'll come last. See, it's helping us navigate this transitional space in some way to get the world that we want in some way. And then there's the Ace of Cups. What a string of cards. So I'm looking for the Archangel of Mysteries and the Stronghold of the Veil, I believe. King of Pentacles, Page of Pentacles. Here she is. Come through, girl, yes. So the Page of Pentacles came out. Now I'm looking for the King of Pentacles. Pulling from the top of the deck. Whew, that was the Ebony Shield. That was the Queen of Pentacles. I kind of freaked out a little bit. Oh, I'm so warm. Yeah, I'm so warm. Archangel of Mysteries. Oh, girl, I was like, hello? Are you here? There are literally 2 cards left. I'll take both of them because she was so close to the top. So this is interesting. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Pentacles, which has been featured a lot lately. It's the space of us cultivating. Even if the weather changes, even if the seasons change, we continue to cultivate. We don't walk away from the field in the way that we need to cultivate it. And the way that I need to cultivate right now, it's a lot gentler, but it still holds the authenticity of the fire that I've discovered. Three of Swords. Okay, not taking it, but noting it. So the card that came out before the Stronghold of the Veil is the Healer, the Star. The card that came out before the Archangel of Mysteries is the Scarlet Shield, that Queen of Swords energy. The Queen of Swords that was before Justice earlier, right? Or the World. The Queen of Swords has been featured a lot lately as an energy of, are we willing to let go of what we think we know of how the world works and operates in order to experience something new? The Eight of Wands. Not taking it, just noting it. So I'm going to go through this deck and pull before and after the Star. Bottom of the deck, Justice, the Hermit, Three of Wands, Queen of Swords. Justice and the Hermit, this is the space of something asked for, something requested. This is the internal adventure to find the solution. Three of Wands is a space of awaiting the Queen of Swords. It's like we feel like we're awaiting something external to us, but what we're really awaiting is this internal shift that puts us in a space to cause or create something. The Gardener, Seven of Pentacles. Okay, I'm pulling these from the bottom of the deck. I'm looking for the Star. Looking for the Star. Here she is. Ten of Wands, which we saw earlier. The Star and the Sun. This is responsibility. The Magician and the Lovers. Mercury and Gemini sitting outside of this. And that Lovers card in the Vice Versa Tarot carried a Magician energy. It's like it's utilizing laws of like reciprocity or something like that. And I said it a minute ago. It's this energy of like, if we give something, the universe has to give us something equivalent. It's like it's taking advantage of consequence in the way that consequence is meant to be taken advantage of. When we do certain things, other things naturally result. When we're occupying a certain energy and acting in that energy, solidifying the reception of something that aligns more to that energy, we get more of that energy. The Eight of Cups with the back of the Magician, it's like it leaves no room for question. And that's why I said it's like in a non-creepy way. This is us engaging the laws of the universe to get what we want in a way that leaves no room for question, no room for misinterpretation. In a non-creepy way, right? Because it in some contexts it can almost, I don't know why I said that three times. It can almost be taken as trying to force the hand of spirit, but it's not forcing the hand. It's like this, like the system is set up the way it's set up for a reason. This is that bitter but medicinal thing. We want to feel better, we take the medicine. We want to receive better, we align ourselves more closely to what it is that we want to receive. And then it comes out. So around the healer, this is an energy, it's almost a baptismal energy. It's an energy that we're healing, it's a space that we're healing into. There's a purification that's happening to approach this space. And I'm actually going to put the star back because I just need these two. It feels like we're doing whatever we're doing. I don't know. I picked up the Eight of Cups too. No, I didn't. Whatever we're doing It's not behind spirit's back, but whatever we're doing to get a certain response from spirit, it feels like it's actually coming with a lot more than we bargained for. It's coming with a lot more than we expected. That's why this person is hauling the entire pyramid. It's almost like if this is what we're doing to commune with Goddess Isis, because there is something that we want to resurrect, there is something that we want to be returned to us in a way that only the divine can do. This is the ritual. This is the recipe that she gives us. It's the things that we need to do within self to reignite certain things, to bring certain things back into existence, and to clear the space, to then receive what we've been sort of trying to replace. It's like if the replacement is still there, if the substitute is still there, if the coping mechanism is still there, if the unhealthy habits and limiting beliefs and things that naturally knock us out of resistance are naturally like anti-aligned to whatever it is that we're trying to have returned are still there, then it's not going to return. The Ten of Wands, Isis gives us for whatever we're asking for. And the collective has been asking for a lot in the space of the age of Aquarius, in the space of DNA upgrades, in the space of connecting more and more closely to the divine, in the space of opening pineal glands and third eyes, in the space of like world peace, in the space of a lot of things. We have a lot of work to do to get there. This is the work we have to do. Now we have to carry the entire pyramid. And it's like Isis, girl, like I didn't know you would make me carry the device to the location. It's almost like instead of gathering the pieces of the body and then assembling them in the pyramid, we're carrying the pyramid around us to all these different fragments and pieces because it's almost like as they're unearthed, as they're exposed to the air, they will start to decay. But the pyramid is like a giant refrigerator that keeps it cool enough for them to, be intact. And so if we were to expose them and then try to bring them to the pyramid, they would spoil. And then when we resurrect it, it would have some kind of deficiency to it. So that's why we're carrying the pyramid with us. And this is everything in this deck. The sun, is it Mithras or Mithras? I think it's Mithras. It's the sun beyond the sun. Like this is so much more than what we were bargaining. Girl, High Priestess. I'm not trying to lose cards. Now she's in reverse. I'll put her back up right. It's so much more than what we thought we were asking for. So much more than what we were bargaining for. But it's like, okay, girl, like this is what you're resurrecting. This is what you're bringing back. This is why we have to carry the entire pyramid with us. This is why this is a 10 of Wands burden when we were just trying to get over this 8 of Cups right here. It was a lot more than what we thought it was. Or either that or we were more aligned than we thought. And because we were more unaligned than we thought, it required more work than we anticipated to get it. But the payoff here is huge. Like this is some major return energy. Actually, this might be Mithras or Mithras. Which one? Because of the snake wrapped around the feet. I remember that. Was that Mithras? It's in the book. It's the energy of the sun beyond the sun. It's blessings in a life that far supersedes what we could even imagine. This is like some like I want to say like divine work or like sacred duty. And it's like Isis doesn't readily reveal her secrets or she doesn't readily hand over this information. because of it's like that with great power comes great responsibility. With certain spaces, there needs to be equal amounts of compassion, and there needs to be a certain capacity for divine love, and there needs to be a certain fixing or integration of the shadow and the ego, where in some points it's almost, what's the word, inseparable from the light, that they're so close together that it's like no matter how your shadow moves, it's not gonna like pull itself away from the light. The High Priestess is the card that was face down. The Healer and the High Priestess around the page. This is the reward. This is the challenge. The challenge is healing. The challenge is lugging this whole pyramid everywhere we go. The challenge is at some points a near constant 10 of wands sort of space because of how how we have to maintain alignment. But the longer you do this, the easier it becomes, to the point where it's like you're carrying around that pyramid and you don't even know it. And it's like, how do you forget that you're lugging around an entire pyramid? Hello? And it's like, oh, I guess at some point I got conditioned to the weight of it. I got conditioned to the weight of this responsibility. I'm actually going to just keep pulling right through these again. Look for the High Priestess. I don't remember seeing the High Priestess, but also I was going pretty quickly, so. Are both of these? Hello? Here she is. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, this reward, this High Priestess, she haunts us. See, and this is what, like, you'll really think sometimes that spirit like isn't paying attention, or that like you won't receive guidance. But it's sometimes it's almost like when spirit is the quietest, potentially, that's when you're most aligned. That's when you're the most on track. It's almost like spirit is holding its breath in anticipation of you discovering something, of you getting it before they have to reveal it to you. Because when you discover it, when you get it without having the answer revealed, you know it. And like you thought she wasn't watching, but she was on the table the whole time, just face down. Like, okay. The cards that came out, the reason why I was like, yeah, it's the King of Wands, which could be a pre-sun energy. This is Ra in this deck. We have two solar energies. This is the sun beyond the sun. This is the sun. They're both here. What we find is the sun beyond the sun. What happens is that that energy then comes down on earth and it starts to rule with the emperor. King of Wands and the emperor is what the high priest is. And earlier I was like, oh, like we've been hearing a lot about the divine mother. The divine mother has been making herself like more apparent. I wonder what the divine father is up to. The King of Wands and the emperor, divine father comes along with divine mother. It takes me back to like that energy of where they're not really separable. Quantumly, they're linked. Quantumly, they're connected. If we look at the energy of like giving and receiving feminine, giving masculine, in order to receive, something must be given. When you give, something is inherently received. Where there is light, there is dark. High Priestess is saying that like a true divine masculine energy is going to be coming down along with the divine feminine energy. That's that sort of counterparty type of energy. And here's the High Priestess in this deck. Almost gives a bit of a Medea energy. It might be. Actually, it might be Hecate. I don't know if it's Hecate or Medea. Let's see. Let's look it up real quick because I'm curious. At the split, it's the All Gifted Pandora and the title card. This is what's at the split. The All Gifted and the card of Mystery. I mean, it came out with the High Priestess, so I'm not surprised that it's just like, what is this? And this is coming out for Earth. Well, the Archangel of Mysteries is here. So again, I don't know why I pulled for both of these. But the Archangel, or the Stronghold of the Veil, is sent by the Archangel of Mysteries to monitor what we're doing and where we are. And once we reach a certain level, then the Archangel, it's like we're granted an audience with the Archangel herself. And then she comes and she issues her own challenge. The challenge that she issues is the Scarlet Shield. The challenge that she issues is whether or not we can maintain this sort of mental frame in the space of challenge, whether or not we can continue healing when things get challenging, when things are hard, when we sort of like find ourselves in the space of overwhelm. Because again, it came out with the 10 of Wands. And this is something that we continue to carry. It isn't something that you just sort of throw off whenever it gets too heavy. And if it does, maybe, I don't want to say we start all over. And again, we're all on different paths and we're all on different journeys and we all come into things at our own time. And so maybe it isn't yet our time to do this. Maybe not everyone will necessarily do this. I don't know. But this is a space of proving. Why do I have this book? I don't know. So that's what the Scholar's Shield is here for. Oh, look, there's the Empress. I see the lion. Hold up. Is the Empress Inanna in this deck? Oh, that's why I picked up the book, because I was going to look and see who the High Priestess is. I was like, why did I pick this up, Polo? The Empress is Inanna, the Sumerian cult of Inanna. I forgot the Empress was Inanna in this deck. So there's another image of Inanna. Because I saw her, and then I saw the lion, because Miss Remy Healings just did the video on Inanna Ishtar. And it mentioned the lions. I was like, wait, is that Inanna? She's gorgeous. Okay, girl. And under Inanna is the Nine of Wands, or under the Empress is the Nine of Wands. That is Inanna. The High Priestess is Persephone. Some pomegranates would have helped. What's interesting, though, if I still have this card here, what's interesting is this pillar in the back with the phases of the moon around it. That pillar reminds me of the High Priestess. The High Priestess is often depicted with two pillars. I think she's already lost in the shuffle. There's Durga and Strength. Durga is another goddess associated. Oh, she's with tigers. I thought it might have been with lions as well. But this pillar, this is the High Priestess. I was like, where's the High Priestess card? It's in my hand. Duh. I feel like this pillar on the High Priestess card is associated with the High Priestess. Okay, Patrick. But it's almost the space of like what lies beyond those pillars. Oh, that's the space. Not exactly. But in the dream, where I made it into that space between spaces that was so hard to ground myself in, it was like this, but the tiling wasn't as consistent. Like it was more white space, and then there were like some checkered spaces in there. Anyway, so there's that. And then here's the lovers and the star that wanted to just sit on the table. They come together. And that's why the star has two cups, typically at least. She pours in divine feminine and divine masculine. Because where there is one, the other needs to exist in balance, lest it tip the scales in a way that the natural world isn't able to exist in. That's why it's like if divine feminine energy in a space is low, then divine masculine energy in that space is probably equally as low. Because to have an abundance of one with the lack of the other would shift things in a way that disrupts natural harmony and order. It would lead to chaos. And we've seen what happens with just like earthly masculine energy. Your Persephone's in Leo. I have no clue where mine is. And then the Queen of Wands came out. The Queen of Wands in this deck is Hathor, I believe. Pretty sure it's Hathor. With all her black cuts. And the Dragonfly. Bottom of the deck is the Hierophant. Last one. Queen of Swords, where you at? So, Nine of Cups, Nine of Swords, and the Star at the bottom of the deck. Now the Star is with the world. So we go from healing like interpersonal relationships, healing like us relationships, like within the self and more intimate, to like healing the entire world. Nine of Cups, Nine of Swords in this. In this Nine of Swords card, it feels like there's this shadowy figure immediately behind us. Like, this is our anxiety, this is us. This is our struggle with this. This is the divine waiting for us to conquer this to make itself known. And the presence behind this, we would assume, is even more intimidating or scary than this. But in reality, that may not be the case. It's a trick of the mind that gets us to see something as if it were something else, more intimidating, frightening, or scary. But it's not surprising if we can't even find a way to manage through the already sort of unknowns and comfortabilities in life. How could we deal with anything beyond that? And then there's the Nine of Pentacles. The nines came out so close together. Where the Nine of Wands at, dude? Oh, here's the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is after the Empress. And the Two of Wands is here. So it's almost like in some ways we're getting off easy with the Ten of Wands, because it could be 11. But it's like it's thanks to the work that we've already, it's thanks to the work that we've already done that it's not that. So here we go again. Seven of Pentacles. Bottom of the SKT, Seven of Orbs, Seven of Pentacles. The card that came out today is the Seven of Pentacles. It's a card of cultivation. We have to be in a space of cultivating. We have to be in a space of healing. We have to be in a space of nurturing. We have to be in a space compatible to the energy that we welcome. And it's a space that we're still establishing, which is why this is still an active process. And that's coming out with the Three of Wands. What we're waiting for, we're cultivating. What we want to receive, we're creating the space for. And so it isn't necessarily that we have so much more to do. It's more so to remain in this energy of cultivation, to remain in an energy that is capable of receiving what it is that we wish to receive. A space of welcoming, right? It's almost like when celebrities have writers or whatever. And it's like, well, if you want me to come, I'm going to need this, that, and this. It's the writer. This is abiding by the writer of these energies. Because if the space isn't right, they're not going to be able to anchor themselves in. which is again why the Queen of Swords is here as the challenge. Whether or not we can sort of maintain this long enough to see these energies made manifest, long enough for them to be welcomed, or long enough to find. It's like you have to shine bright enough for them to see you among the crowd, right? Or long enough. Now, the two cards of reward, it's interesting. It's the Five of Cups, Mars and Scorpio, and the Shining Winds, the Grotesque, and the Swirling Gale. A swirling gale is interesting because the card of a leaf, the winds of change, and a leaf caught in an eddy came out. All right, have a good night, Eve. I'll probably be on for hours still, so have a good night. The card of a leaf caught in an eddy came out earlier, and that was an energy of like the winds were being picked up by the winds of change, but we still have these blockages and resistances. So the winds of change will push us as far as they can, will hit this resistance, and then they'll bring us around. And as they're coming back, they'll be pushed forward again. So it's this constant eddying energy. We're caught in the eddy. We keep like we're in the winds of change and we feel things changing, but because of these limitations and blockages, we only go so far, which is again why the Queen of Swords here is the challenge. Now, as I said, we're preparing to welcome something. That's what the Five of Cups is. We see the star in the water, we see the star on his back. The Five of Cups in this deck, it's everything that makes us who we are. And it's the first things that we try to abandon or hide in order to fit in other spaces, in order to find a place or try to find a place in. I've never seen these as red as they appear today. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever noticed the liquid actually spilling out of these cups, which is weird because I feel like they've been empty before. This is a space, this is an actual release. This is an actual release because we're actually healing and because we actually allow that release. This is us reclaiming, again, it's everything that makes us special and unique. And then with the Knight of Swords, with this universal Mercury, it feels like a gift of expanded vision. And it feels like an expanded sort of purview and territory. It's an ability to see beyond the things that we've seen. But we have to release our hurt and our pain and the old ways of, or the ways of the old world in order to see anew. That cloud up there, that's the same cloud that presented us the Ace of Cups at the Four of Cups. It's the one that we rejected. We reject this one to try to find our space in the Three of Cups, and then you get to the Five of Cups, and the Three of Cups are knocked over and spilled. Like, well, we should have taken this, and then it's this energy that's like, well, if I would have known that these would have spilled, then I would have taken the new thing when it was offered. This is us moving forward. This is a gift of moving forward. That's our reward. And it's interesting because it's like the page is bringing a whole like high priestess, divine masculine energy. But let me look. Am I going to have to look for two cards this time? The Five of Cups. I'll just do the Five of Cups. No, I'll do both of them. I will continue to abide by the system that was established to ensure that this happens. Ace of Swords, the Hanged Man, and the Fool. This is us finally being free and able to move forward. It's a gift of moving forward. There are all the runes. All of the runes are in the Ace of Swords. The Hangman traditionally is Odin hanging from the world tree, reading the runes to learn magic. But now it's like we're actually going to do. No, it's discovering magic in a different way with this Fool energy. Oops. Yep. So I'm going to look for both of them, the Five of Cups and the Knight of Swords, with no shuffle in between. Here's the Five of Cups with some pretty gorgeous energy. Five of Cups came out with the Prince of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. 2 court energies. And the Knight of Swords. Prince of Swords. Prince of Cups. I might have accidentally passed him because I was looking for Knight instead of Prince. If I did, I'm sorry. I'll have to flip back through. Yeah, Prince of Wands. And I'm pretty sure... Oh, no, he's right here. Okay, nice. I didn't miss it. So we have the 9 of Pentacles. We see another feminine energy, this time with a cheetah. So shout out to the feminine energies with the big cats and the Ace of Wands. Cheetah gives me magician energy because of the Wild Unknown Tarot, but it's also an energy of a quickness or a swiftness. And I love it that we also have it with the Peacock and the Prince of Pentacles. Everything is represented here except for Swords. 9 of Pentacles, Ace of Wands, Prince of Pentacles, Queen of Cups. It feels like after we get the reward from the Archangel of Mysteries, this is an acknowledgement of us doing everything that we need to do in an earthly sense, almost to not lose ourselves. With the cheetah energy, it is that magician energy, but it's also an energy of a quickening. We have the Prince of Pentacles and the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups is the complete High Priestess energy again. And again, I guess it shouldn't be surprising because here with this energy, it's like, oh, congratulations, you figured it out. I guess this is confirmation of us figuring it out. And then we get this Prince of Pentacles, which is a certain amount of abundance. It feels like a level of abundance that it is to be used for something. That's why it's the Prince instead of the King or the Queen. But what's most interesting is this Ace of Wands. This is being offered for us to take our desires and our passions and to move them forward. It's like a certificate. It's like a certificate by spirit that grants you access to a certain domain of abundance and a certain domain of manifestation capabilities. It's like this person has proven that they will not misuse this, that they will, it's like being knighted, but with a wand instead of a sword, that they will conduct themselves in a way that is befitting of one bestowed this honor upon this court or by this position. And it's also like a little bit feels like it is because we have free will. It's not like free reign, but again, it's like there are so many like ego checkpoints and gateways to pass through before we get here. Like we have to carry the entire 10 of Wands and resurrect the sun just to make it past this like page energy. And then we get challenged by the Archangel of Mysteries to maintain that. And so while we're in the space of Queen of Swords maintaining, we may be challenged intentionally to see if we can hold that space. The Memory Keeper, the Ace, Bread of Life, 6 of Cups, Ace of Pentacles. This is the return of something that it's almost like we're born with. It's a nurturing of the seed of the divine that lies within us that puts, the hatched eggs. Well, here you go, girl. Now the phoenix and the dragon are born. Now this phoenix and dragon inside of us, divine masculine and divine feminine within us, can really begin to mature. Beyond the feminine and the masculine within us. The glorified feminine and masculine. Hey Siri, choose a number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 4.
So now we're going to the element of fire. Oh, there's the Knight of Wands again, but we're looking for the King of the Page. So off the top, we have the Initiate, the Nocturne, and the Shining Flame. Our initiation into this north world, our initiation into this north node world, into this space of abundance, as guided by, dictated by our ability to hold light and to move forward with compassion in the space of the South Node world, rather than moving in an energy that is concerned with self fulfillment, the fulfillment of one's own desires. And then, we have the angel after that. So, okay, let's. I wish I had more space. I'll have more space soon. I need to get serious. And I am serious. And there's the angel with the Queen of Wands, the golden shield. See? When we get out of the shadowy side of Knight of Wands energy, come into that higher octave of Knight of Wands energy, to the point where we become some kind of guardian and protector or a representative. It's almost like an avatar. It's a vessel capable of holding divine energy and receiving divine information in a less filtered way. Feels like it might make your head feel like it would want to explode if you're not capable of receiving. And even if you are, it would still be kind of challenging. So, the wish granted is coming out with the Archangel of Glory. I told you, like that King of Cups, Knight of Cups, Ace of Pentacles, space is being cleared for a whole new world to be sort of built. The Nine of Cups is already on the table, no? No, that's the Nine of Pentacles. Okay. Oh, I already saw it. It's the Outlaw, the Hanged Man. We just talked about him in the other deck. This is the Hanged Man who's not afraid to go against the iron tight rule of the Hierophant. This is the hangman that dared go beyond what the Hierophant permitted him to, and because he did, he found some kind of knowledge. Even though he's hanging from an Ankh, which is symbolic of all life, there's the serpent. Here is the awakening that he experienced in light and in shadow, the eye of the sun, the eye of the moon, and the ripple effect that it has on the world around him. That's the reward. Again, it feels like more freedom, more liberation from a system. Okay. The sun and strength together. I'll try to do better at, yep, here we go. At better, this is funny. The card that just came out is the Empress. What we're being asked to do, the space of that we're being observed in, first it was the healer, then it was the Empress. And we're only human, but we're being looked at from this major arcana point of view. And it's major up front, but it's minor in the back. There's the Hector, the one that acts on behalf of the Hierophant, that does things that are probably a little questionable. And I love that the Hector is coming out for the suit of fire, which is all about us checking our own ambitions and desires so that we don't start intruding and impeding upon other people in the collective. Right? Because the energy that we have when we acquire something is the energy that it's going to have when we get it. So the Empress, we are observed here for our capability and capacity to be the Empress. Nurturing, kind, compassionate, caring, also not easily taken advantage of. Healthy boundaries are a part of this Empress energy. And look, we got all of the zodiacs represented in that. So we're going looking for Inanna. Bottom of the deck, the Star, the Nine of Swords, the Nine of Cups. Together again. But now this time, since the star has been done, now this energy will reveal itself to be this, and it will start granting wishes. The wish granted is already coming out with the Archangel of Glory. So, looking for the Empress. I totally forgot that Inanna was the Empress in this deck. Also, I didn't really have a reason to remember. I didn't really have any context to Inanna, honestly. But as soon as I saw her, I was like, wait, isn't that Inanna? It is. So this isn't necessarily the Ishtar side of Inanna. It's just Inanna. It's not Inanna Ishtar. So we're not getting the more there, right? Which may be why why we're being more observed in our element to nurture, right? Rather than the more present Inanna Ishtar energies. Okay, well, yeah, pretty much like I said. It makes sense that this comes out for the Suit of Wands, the Magician and the Two of Swords. And in this Two of Swords, he's playing a game of chess. It's about realizing that other people aren't chess pieces, that people have feelings, people have lives, and people are not things to be used to get what we want. In this Magician card, he's being met by the divine. The divine is coordinating with what it is that he's creating. But because of that, it's almost like there's this energy that's like, well, how can I go about manifesting this in a way that doesn't violate like universal law or universal principle? How can I go about acquiring this in a way that is safe and in a way that is ethical? And this is more about the individual than the limitations of the divine. It's like whenever you oh, I feel the coolness starting to come in. Thank you. It's around my legs right now. Or my left leg. Oh, and now my face is getting hot again. Sorry. Keep going with the flow. It's like whenever new environmental regulations are put into place, now we have to figure out like how we can do what we need to do, but abide by these new laws because it matters. This is the space of practicing this. And again, with the Empress, yes, she's fertile and abundant and she's capable of living in that abundance, but it needs to come in a way that is not detrimental or harmful for others. And it exists in a space that actually brings more abundance to those around her, which is, again, that was the ripple effect that we see in the reward on this side of the king, right? It ripples outward, his ability to process light and shadow. There's the glyph of Neptune, if you were curious. That's Neptune. So on the other side, the reward for this is the magician. What's being observed is our magician sort of capabilities. Again, it goes back to that previous energy. Maybe I don't have to run through this for every single element. When we're seen to be in alignment with a more divine love and compassion and energy, we're granted more access to what is the fundamental nature, what is the fundamental energy that comprises everything. It's like being given the building blocks. And that makes sense because the King of Swords is here. I kept looking at the King of Swords behind this magician, and I'm just like, I keep looking at him. I didn't like say anything about him, but the King of Swords with the Six of Wands, it's definitely in recognition of something, and it's the front side of the King of Swords too, not the back side. I didn't need the book for this deck. The King of Swords holds the energy of the Sage of Zones. The Sage of Zones is the one who knows the fundamental laws and principles of Earth. And so he is able to create and dictate a space that allows for more magic. It allows for more wonder through the space of that knowing. It's like if it were a school, you would get that level of ability after you graduate, let's say with a PhD, right? In the K through 12, that's like, okay, well, like getting a job, maybe meeting a person of a certain energy. It's like these things. And when you go beyond that, it's like the final and finer, more and more and more subtle details. That's like, oh, so like if I want to live in a space where I experience unicorns in my reality, then I need to pull upon these principles. And it's a very temperance like alchemist like energy because as it is outlining what its experience will be, the swords precede the earth. You can't build anything anywhere without a permit The King of Swords, or the Suit of Swords, is your ability, like what you can write in your permit. Talking about the writer, we get to write our own writers. At the King of Swords, he knows enough to be able to like write in all that special stuff so that he has the permit to actually build it in his reality again. And at that point, it's a very temperance alchemist energy. That creates the experience. There's the spirit, there's the blood that represents the physical. Together, the world is born. That's the energy that we're being rewarded. And I don't know what this is going to look like in real life. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, it makes sense energetically. Like, this is a stable connection. Like, I get it. But what would that look like in real life? I mean, there's a reason why the high priestess was here. And this is there's on the top, we have the healer, the high priestess, the empress, the magician. The healer, being the star, is the space of a light in the dark. The high priestess sees everything in the dark. The empress is a space of creation. It's a space of nurturing something into creation, being given something. And it's almost like the magician is pure, just like, boom, there's something. Just created it out of thin air. But the heavier, like we're being watched more closely up front by the pages than we are on the back end. But again, I feel like in some ways it makes sense. It's like, okay, my page has told me, the stronghold has told me that you have mastered the energy of this major arcana. I'm here to give you a final test. It's not going to be as hard as everything you've done. It's more so a test of character than anything. And if you are of good character, if you are of good merit, and if you have integrity, there's nothing to worry about. This will be really easy and will be done in seconds, and you'll be on your way. If not, that's where the struggle may come in for you. Type of energy. Okay. I mean, people wanted to be sovereign and little sparks of the divine and creators. So, you know, it's like, well, the opportunity is here. But in order to have a world that doesn't completely fall apart because of a bunch of selfish people, here are a few things that we just want to make sure of. Prince of Wands, Knight of Wands again, with the Ace of Pentacles. Again, that Knight of Wands into the Ace of Pentacles. And then the Princess of Swords. And the Princess of Swords in this deck, she points up to Spirit and then she points to you. There's a Gallarhorn, and then there's the sword that is yours. Russell said, there's a sword inside, and we're switching out the old sword energy, or the energy of the old sword, for a new sword. This is the call to pick up that new. After that, she's like, okay, well, the rest is up to you. What are you going to do? Who am I looking for? The magician. The magician is already on the table. That's interesting. The magician literally just came out with the Empress. So that's where I'm going to come over here. I'm not going to put anything on the table. Just going to ask for, did I just put these in reverse? No, I did not. I need to make sure. The one thing about using this deck, though, is that I have to remember to like flip some of them. So I get some cards that, flip. Oh, look, there's the star. What? Let's see if it's at the top. It is at the top of the deck. Here's the star. This is the back of the star, where the statue is facing this greater being. On the front of the star, we don't see it. There's the birds, though. The same bird from the card I just saw. Who was it? The Princess of Swords. The Princess of Swords with the two birds. So she's pointing up to the star, which is pouring down, asking if you're going to get it. This is the energy that awaits you beyond the star. Just like we had a sun beyond the sun, this is the energy that exists beyond the star. This energy feels like your higher self. Feels like the body that you have somewhere or that you'll get access to that has these capabilities, but it awaits beyond the star. And your being knows you so well, it's going to make your challenge, your things that you need to heal and go through, unique to you because it knows its shortcomings. And because you are it, it knows your shortcomings. And because it knows that you can't afford to be in these spaces and be all like weird and stuff, it's going to make sure that the star knows exactly what it is that you need to heal. So if you feel like you've been exactly challenged, well, congratulations, you're probably right. But there's a gorgeous energy up there for you. So, who was that? I think the Eight of Cups popped up, but it went back in the deck. That's another thing about these cards not having a card back is like if a card pops up and then it goes back in the deck, I'm like, well, I don't know which one it was. So you're going to have to speak a little louder than that. You're going to have to hit the table or something. I'm actually just going to pull. Four of Cups, Ten of Wands, Ace of Wands, bottom of the deck, with another bird in the sky. Why is it like nothing missing, nothing gained? Four of Cups and Ten of Wands. Ace of Wands. What is being created is the question. Or what are we entering the space of being able to create is a better question. Because it feels like as the wand from the Ace of Wands is raised, then the sun comes up in response. That's the rod of Moses that split the Red Sea. What it's doing is it's creating pathways. It's creating, I don't want to say pockets, but it's clearing a space. It's clearing a way for those who are weary and downtrodden and feel like they've missed out on something to claim what it is that they feel like they've missed out on. What we're doing is we're creating more space for others to follow. Makes sense because everyone is needed in a way. Everyone does something. And so it's important that as many people sort of make it as possible. Because we all add something that is unique and we all add something that is special, which is why I guess we're not going to get any more information on this. But also, the High Priestess has already come out, so not too surprised there. So let's go looking at this Nine of Cups around the Archangel of Glory. This reminds me of old days when I just read for hours and hours and hours and nobody would be here. But I keep doing it anyway. Because this is probably going to be a long one. I'm only halfway through. So Judgment, the Devil, and the Ace of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. It's interesting because in this energy, the devil feels more like the space of temptation, which is what that's a bit, which is what the devil energy typically does. Like that's literally what he's all about. Not tempting you so that you fall. It's like that's the energy to be overcome. Anything that would cause sort of hesitation. I feel like I don't know how to communicate it in a way that makes sense. It's through successfully navigating devil energy that we prove that we're not going to be knocked off path or knocked out of alignment or tempted to do weird stuff with divine gifts. It's not to fall prey to it, it's to prove that we don't, or that we're in a space where we won't. Looking for the Nine of Cups. Okay. I wonder if the Nine of Cups is still with the Nine of Swords and the Star. Might be, because I haven't seen any of those cards yet. Ain't seen none of them cards yet. Yep, it is. But, oh, this is interesting. The Nine of Swords and the King of Swords is around this Nine of Cups. The Nine of Swords and the King of Swords. Like I was just talking about, devil energy it's to tempt us, but it's for us to become immune. It's for us to build our immunity and resistance to devil energy to the point where we no longer sort of stray off path. This is the challenge that the Archangel of Glory is bringing us. Because it's almost like the challenge is being presented with the very thing that we want, which in some way, for some reason, inherently attracts devil energy. The devil energy that it attracts is like it's like a shortcut, like when we don't necessarily want to do the work, and so we take the easy way out. And again, the energy that we give to something is the energy that it carries when we get it. And so if we get it in a shady or unscrupulous way, unscrupulous way, then it carries that shady and unscrupulous energy. It's for us to be, this is one of the kings of the underworld, specifically either Iacus or Radamanthus. It's not Minos. It could be Minos because we all have our own journeys. Eventually, somehow he got there. Even though he refused to sacrifice what he was given to sacrifice. And even though instead of making that sacrifice, instead of sacrificing the bull, he chose to sacrifice the lives of 7 young men and women, or boys and girls, every 7 years or after every 7th year, to keep the Minotaur under the Palace of Secret, to keep his secret a secret. This is us finding that space of unmoving, unwavering integrity, where our minds no longer wander, because the mind is one of the first things, either the mind or the heart, but more often than not, the mind. One of the first things that will get us to do something, or one of the easiest ways to sort of infiltrate us. There's also an energy of finding a pack here with the 2 wolves. One of them is Fenrir. Fafnir is the dragon, right? I don't know, I always confuse Fafnir and Fenrir, but they're both there. I feel like there are also 2 runes here that are present with Odin and the King of Swords, but we don't know which 2. Honestly, feels like 2 new runes. It feels like 2 runes that were previously undiscovered because they weren't written on the tree. They're runes that come into being. They're runes, it's a magic that comes into our awareness as we sort of prove ourselves in this space. Those 2 runes, it feels like a little bit like a shortcut. Like there are multiple runes that we can combine to give a certain effect in the right proportions. After we master that, then it's like we get a rune that does all of that highly complicated runey stuff itself. But it's like it's important to learn the basics. That's why we're just not given this one. Or it's a higher form. It's a gift. It's something that lies beyond the realm beyond. When we come into these spaces of proving, we get access to them. It's a forgotten knowledge that is our own. So now we're looking at the Hanged Man, which is the reward. Which makes sense. I mean, I know I just said that, like, we don't have to hang ourselves from the world tree to get the magic of these runes, but this one, it doesn't hang from the world tree. It hangs from the element of life itself, which could be the world tree, but it's different. Okay, it's different. And who has the eye of the sun and the eye of the moon, who is in the position of creating these ripples outwards by not doing anything. And then here's Odin and the King of Swords. So that's interesting. Maybe that's the Odin before he got the magic and was told where the world tree was to learn the magic. So the Archangel of Glory, King of Wands, with the challenge being the Nine of Cups, and again with that devil energy, it's to not be so tempted by what we desire that we completely strip ourselves of our morals and our ethics and our integrity. And then we're rewarded with the outlaw energy. The Empress, the All Gifted, and the Two of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. Oh my gosh! There was a ball that my friend wanted to take a picture of. Standing on top. She was like, I'm going to stand on top of the ball. I was like, can you do that? She's like, I've seen people do it. I was so stressed. I was like, girl, please don't fall. And then she was like, Patrick, like, don't let go. So I held her up on the ball while my friend took a picture of her. That reminds me of the Two of Pentacles. The Empress, Inanna, the All-Gifted Pandora, and the Two of Pentacles. This is a balancing of that creative and destructive energy with the Two of Pentacles and everything that results from it with Pandora and her box, the All Gifted. Okay. That was a feeling. Who am I looking for? The Hangman. Oh, wait, yeah, those belong there. Oh, sorry. There he is. So again, it feels like the reward is an energy of liberation. Death and the Five of Swords. I don't want to say release from the mortal coil, but it almost comes in as a sort of nirvana energy, which is released from the mortal coil. Because what came out last time? The Ace of Wands, Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Cups, Prince of Pentacles, Ace of Wands. This Five of Swords, this Death and Five of Swords card feels more like a celebration. Honestly, it feels a little Valhalla in nature. This feels like reveling with others who have done the same work. Other outlaws, divine outlaws, celebrating this transformation. The sword is the scythe. There's an owl in this death card. And she's reaching out for something. Not with the scythe, but with her hand. It reminds me of the Ten of Swords and the Witch's Tarot, with the owl perched up in the branch. Offering release, offering Valhalla, but it's Valhalla in a way that isn't us going to fight some other battle afterward. It's a release from needing to fight. It's a space where we can peacefully exist, where we would experience some kind of challenge or persecution in a different space. It's almost like with her scythe, she's coming to cut the hangman free, and again, welcoming him to this great hall where the previous champions await. It's that Valhalla energy. It's the segment of Elysium where heroes go. I forget what it's called. But like all of the Greco-Roman or the Greek heroes are in that part of Elysium. It's where all the heroes go, where they can enjoy themselves. The Five of Swords is starting to carry this energy of us conducting ourselves in a way that is honoring of and respectful of the divine, even when we feel that the divine has pulled away from us in a space of challenge or in a space of darkness, because it's an opportunity for us to come into our own light and to truly claim the energy of transformation. We can't claim transformation if our whole transformation is relying on the divine to do everything for us. It's like, okay, well, what have you done? It's, well, I asked. So, that's something. And that is something. But we have the opportunity to do more, to claim more, to be more, to ascend to more. And it may be moving from opportunity to responsibility. And it's our responsibility because this is what we asked for. And the divine can't do it for us. So who else is going to do it if we don't? Hey Siri, choose a number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 4.
4? We're going for... I just did 4. That was fire. Hey Siri, choose a number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 2.
I've already done Earth. Hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 1.
1. So the Hermit, the Erudite, and the Archangel Commander just came out. But he's going to be the last one that we do. This is a return of the light. Archangel Commander was us being challenged by Archangel Michael to rise in our own lives and to do what we need to do. And that, I don't remember what video it was, but it came out last year. And it felt like we were asking Archangel Michael to do something. And Michael was like, I'm busy, but here's my sword. And it's like, your sword, well, like, can you do it? And it's like, sorry, I can't interfere in this for whatever reason, but here's my sword, you can do it. And eventually we learn to do it. And then after the deed is done, we return the sword to Michael. And Michael says, well, that's not my sword, silly, that's your sword. I can't part with my sword. I gave you your sword, hoping that you'd learn to use it. And you did. Congratulations. And then he's like, okay, it's time to spar. Now that I know that you can use your sword, I need to see where you are with it to know where to position you to like train you. Because now I'm going to train you in how to use the sword. But I need to know what you know first. Type of energy. The Chariot, the Memory Keeper, the Hector. Bottom of the deck. The Hector is feeling like overwritten memories, honestly. Or it's like this thick film. It's a veil energy, but it's not a divine veil. It's a weird, old, Hierophant, earthy veil that separates you from the truth of who you are. So then you start to believe that you're somebody that you're not. And this is the truth of who you are, the memory keeper coming back to you, squaring off with this false remembrance of self. Feels like weird. Not weird, but that's what it feels like. And look, it leads to the sun. But like these are conditions. It's like the Hierophant would promise you the sun. And so you would fight under the premise that eventually you get the sun, but the Hierophant was never going to give you the sun because the Hierophant can't give you the sun. Low key. Hierophant can't give you the sun. The divine can, sure. Hierophant can't. But it can give you task after task after task after task and tell you that eventually, if you keep doing this, you will meet the sun someday. And you're like, really? And they're like, uh-huh. Like, you sure? I'm like, yeah. Why would I lie? You do my bidding. You give me your energy. You respect and revere me. You worship me. Why would I lie? What human would take this and not to want more of it? I was like, okay, Hierophant. See, you're weird. Like, there's a bad weird. Oh, okay. I'm like, what am I doing? Looking for the Archangel of Healing. Here she is. This is so funny. Oh my gosh. LOL. I am literally laughing. I am literally laughing. Ace of Cups and the Eight of Cups. Eight of Cups, the defector. This is Saturn and Pisces. Saturn in Pisces is where Pisces goes next. Where Pisces goes next. Saturn in Pisces is where Saturn goes next after it's finished in Aquarius. Jupiter is about to head into Pisces here pretty soon. It's the Eight of Cups. Archangel of Healing is asking us to walk away. And honestly, I heard somebody talk about the Eight of Cups yesterday. And I was like, we always talk about the Eight of Cups about as walking away, but what are we walking towards? Like, let's shift our perspective. Let's shift our focus. What are we walking towards? What are we going to? I know that a lot of times what we leave behind is important, but maybe sometimes it's more important to focus on where we're going or the feeling that we're going after. The reason why I said that, like, death just came out with the Archangel of Healing. So the challenge of the Archangel of Healing is the reward of the Archangel of Glory. His reward was death, right? No. Death came out clarifying the Hanged Man. It's the release. The reward is a release. The challenge is the release. But can you release to welcome the release? Because your exit is here. Your exit's been there for a while. You were just too consumed with whatever you were consumed with to take it. And we're going to open this gateway again. We're going to open this portal again. We're going to highlight and illuminate your exit plan again. But your exit is your entrance into something more gorgeous and beautiful. But it's like, are you going to take it this time is the challenge. So, Three of Pentacles is the challenge of the stronghold of the Grail. When it comes to spiritual spaces, can we cooperate? Can we work together? Can we get over that weird Age of Pisces thing where we all believed in a divine that believed in love, but where we killed each other or did weird stuff to each other in the name of a divine that was supposed to love? Like, can we come into a space of collaboration with the Three of Pentacles? It's interesting that it's the Mason, I guess. The Mason is a builder, and it's building a tunnel. It's like instead of building a tower of Babylon, we're building a tower internally. But it's like everyone has a piece of this. Can we cooperate to get there? That's the challenge of the stronghold of the Grail. Messenger of the Archangel of Healing. With that special tonic. It's literally water. It's literally just water. Archangel of Healing is like, I have this magical elixir that can heal any and every wound. And you're like, really? She's like, yeah, but it requires that you do this, 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 and this when you take it for it to work. And you're like, okay, I'll take it. The actual healing was in everything that you had to do to get it to work. The tonic itself is just water. It's your belief that fuels it, and it's your actions that support it or make it manifest. It's like Space Jam when Bugs Bunny gave him water. So, when it comes to the element of spirit and connection, Ace of Swords, Two of Pentacles, Four of Swords. This is a balance that's necessary and needed when we receive this information with the Four of Swords. It's almost a question of, can you allow someone else's truth to be their truth, honestly? Maybe it's something that I need to learn more of. Not be so quick to be so hot and fiery or decisive or loud all the time. Can you allow someone else's truth to be their truth and for yours to be yours? Can you exist in a space of peace while everyone sort of gets a different working of these rooms and what they do? Because again, our spiritual challenge is to collaborate and work together to build something. Working together to build something. This is more than just like, oh, like happy feelings and like a bunch of kumbaya and stuff. Kumbaya is great, but we need to actually build systems or renovate systems, remodel systems so that they physically, tangibly, in real life serve everybody. And not just like, oh, well, I've reached a space where I don't care what you look like. but I'm not going to put anything towards actually building a system that also recognizes you, because me recognizing you is enough. It's like everybody wants to manifest heaven on earth, but when given the opportunity to get the earth closer to heaven, well, it's like, okay, like all the tools are here. Where are the people? Like, who's gonna actually build it? There's the Empress, the Moon, the Eight of Pentacles. Looking for the Three of Pentacles. That's the Three of Cups. Excuse me. Oh, here's the Three of Pentacles. Ooh. It's coming out with the Prince of Cups and the Six of Cups. Six of Swords is at the bottom. This is actually moving forward. Prince of Cups, Six of Cups, Six of Swords. Here are butterflies, transformation. There are roses that symbolize love. The Ace of Cups that was bloody in the Ace is now clean and pristine and pure. Here's the Six of Cups. Is this the one? No, which one was the one with the buff dudes in the bath? Sorry. Is that a lamp? Or is that a chalice? I can't tell. It might be a lamp. Is this a lamp with a genie inside of it? Can anybody tell me? Looks like a lamp, right? Because there's two cups and then the other four cups are up there. This is on earth as it is in heaven energy. Because up here is a space of communion. Down here, we're coming into a space of communion. It's like on a spiritual level where we're all sort of like running around trying to get things figured out. And then down here on the earthly plane, it's actually getting it figured out. This is Apollo. Hermes. I'm just curious. Swords, wands, pentacles are last. I know that much. Pentacles, okay. So it's after them. Claps. Here we go. This is Eros. Duh. Eros, Cupid, god of new love, romance, and chaos. Eros has energies of arrows of attraction, but also arrows of aversion. And so what we were in a space of aversion now we're in a space of attraction. It feels like it's due to transmutation of the ego and the removal of competition in favor of cooperation. This is the challenge. The challenge is, can we make earth like it is in heaven? And again, with this Three of Pentacles, it's about actually making the earth that way. Actually caring enough about each other to actively support one another, not so tied to like, oh, well, that's an inconvenient truth for me, so I'm going to choose not to believe it. And when the world presents me information where it is that way, I will process that information in a certain way that, I don't actively do anything with. This is all of the desire for it. This is it actually happening. I feel like there's also an energy here. It's learning to recognize the divine child within all of us, regardless of what sort of separates us on the outside. It's almost like Cupid is shooting us with arrows so that we start to care. And it's like it can't force that, but it can give us an opportunity to prove or to show in some way in some interconnected way that we care, that we're present, that we're listening, that we'll do something. It's not an empty promise. Oh, like, oh yeah, like I'll do this or I'll do that. Hey Mimi, how are you doing today? It's actually showing up in some way. What's the reward? The reward is the journeyman. Eight of Pentacles, Eight of Orbs, Sun in Virgo. It almost like the reward is more work. What? This is a reward. The Staff of Mastery. And it's a living wood. We can see the runes showing up on her face. Those are the ones, the energies that she is starting to exhibit and embody. But it's like it comes from the inside outwards, right? These are the runes that we couldn't see around Odin. They were the ones shrouded in mystery. These two. It may, at the jump, look like more work, though. Your reward is proving that you can handle and master these higher things. This is the first one at the top where Major Arcana didn't come out. It's almost like, okay, maybe not. You're talking to your son about the permanent daylight savings law in Georgia. Indiana used to be like that, but then they got rid of it. So it was like for half of the year, Indiana would be on the same time as Illinois. And then on daylight savings, like Illinois would change, but Indiana wouldn't. And I live really close to Indiana. So I don't know why they went back to it, but what are these runes? This one, I think that's Menaz. That one, I don't know. I don't know. I know. Ooh, the Eight of Wands. What I immediately noticed this time was the lion looking up. Every time I've seen this card before, I feel like I've seen it as the wands going in. But now the wands are coming out. Eight of Wands, Eight of Pentacles. I don't know. So it may not be the case, but when it comes to cups, it's almost like the divine doesn't want to expect too much out of us. So it's not giving us major energy. Like we're not even being challenged in a major way when it comes to the suit of cups, when it comes to the suit of connections, spirit, and emotions. Our challenge is literally to work together to build something that benefits everyone more equally across the board. Literally our challenge to be decent people. I know it's asking for a lot for some people. Let me see. Why do I got to be weird like that? Why do I have to put this on here? You missed 2 hours. Oh, yeah, you right. Five of Wands. What are they doing to this hippo? Hello? Maybe they're like brushing its teeth. Maybe they're hippo doctors. Nah, see, because it's happening under the moon. This is some kind of like almost poacher like energy. Bottom of the deck is the Two of Wands. Honestly, with the Two of Wands and the Five of Wands, it feels like they're setting up some weird dynamic. Like this is a hippo that they're beating up on. They're teaching this hippo not to trust man. And so that when future generations come up, now they start to experience like these aggressive hippos. And it's like, why are these hippos so aggressive? Well, because at night, when everybody else was asleep, they were beating these hippos up. Now, the hippos, for whatever reason, are protected. And because the hippos are protected, they can't hunt these like they would everything else. So what they do is they condition the hippos to be aggressive so that when the hippos go and attack people, and in their mind, like they're defending their territory, now they can justify the killing of the hippos because it was done in defense. This is that weird thing that the old Hierophant can do when it conditions us to view things in a certain way to justify its actions. But the truth is hidden in moonlight. I mean, it's like broad moonlight, right? Like that's a full moon. So the divine definitely sees it. But us in the day-to-day as we go along our journeys, we don't know that this is the reason why the hippos are so aggressive. That exemplifies the challenge in like that's why the 3 of Pentacles is as hard as it is, because we've been conditioned to think and view things a certain way. So then the reward in the journeyman is relearning in a divine way, or learning the truth, a living truth, an organic truth. So we have the Fool, the High Priestess, and Judgment. This is literally 2020, 2020, or it's 0202, but I'm going to say 2020, 22 and 0. Judgment, the High Priestess, the Fool. Everything I just said. Can we see things in a way of the truth rather than what we're conditioned, or in the way that we were conditioned to have seen it? Because if the conditioning is effective enough, even when we see the truth, we still won't be moved by it, or we won't buy it. All that means is that old twisted Hierophant did its job well enough that you still don't care, even when the truth is immediately in front of you. But in the heart should always be online, so it's still no excuse, right? In your heart, you should feel something. 8 of Pentacles. Here we go. King of Pentacles, which is Krishna, I believe. And the 4 of Pentacles. Is this Krishna or is this Vishnu? 10 of Cups. Look at it. With the Ace of Pentacles and 10 of Cups. With the moon. That's the all things being revealed. Yeah, it is. Oh, Ganesha's in this. In the 8 of Pentacles. And in the 4 of Pentacles, the elephant is carrying the 4th Pentacle. So there was that weird energy. And again, I guess earlier today, it was like in the werewolf, the man is the true beast in that dynamic. It's not the wolf that makes people go crazy. When people turn into werewolves, it's them giving themselves permission to do all the dark and twisted things that they always wanted to do, but they didn't do because they were fitting into society. That darkness was within the man the whole time. Ain't a bite do nothing that wasn't already there. You can't infect somebody with hatred or malice or apathy. That's something that has to take place within an individual. Now, you can do something to somebody to make them hateful, sure, but that's not like a natural condition. I don't think so. I mean, it could be, who knows? Why am I picking up my phone? I don't know. I don't know. I meant to pick up this book. I think this may actually be Vishnu and not Krishna. Yeah, it's Vishnu. God of preservation, riches, and protection. God of preservation, riches, and protection. Where man was coming out and doing all that weird stuff to the hippo. And that's why I said it was like there was an energy that is protected, or like you are protected. Something is protected. And there's this very roundabout energy that causes something to act or react in a certain way that is deemed aggressive so that it can step in and squash that without violating that order of protection. Now, again, the full moon is there. Wrong is always wrong. But in a human context, we can justify it. Like, oh, well, they shouldn't have done this. They shouldn't have done that. They deserved it. And it's like, if that's good enough for you as a person, I guess, if that's the limit of your love or compassion or caring for somebody else, then how much was there to begin with? I don't know. But that's going to be one of the most important things moving over. Moving over, that's going to be one of the most important things moving forward. That which must be protected continue to be protected. This is the new guardian of the forest who can do things in a way that spirit can't. It can navigate in spaces that pure spirit can't. It can be a mouthpiece. It can be the voice for spirit in arenas where those who don't naturally hear spirit wouldn't hear it. Now, they don't necessarily have to listen, but that's being the voice piece and inheriting the living wood, the spirit of the forest. And then nature works with you. It blesses you on top as a reward for you doing what it is that you need to do. So, for all of those who do like things with the earth and things with other people on earth, more power to you. There's a reward in that. This is coming out in the space of reward, though. So maybe it's a different relationship with the natural world. You're going to be granted your reward is an abundance. It's a frequency of abundance for all that you've already done and for what you will continue to do. The only caveat is that with some of this, you put it to good use or you give it back to nature, right? 75% of it he keeps or she keeps, they keep 75%, 25% goes back to nature, goes to the elephant, goes to do something. Putting financial resources into something that will protect or that will benefit. Because when we're building something with the Mason, Three of Pentacles, we need material to build. Some of that is for material. The rest is for you to do as you please. So now we have death. Death is the challenge of the Archangel of Healing. And if the challenge up here is whether or not we can work together, then the death challenge down here is whether or not our perceptions can be released and transformed to see the truth of one another. And whether or not we can be bothered enough to care. Ooh, water is coming out with the real challenges. Let me stop. Let me stop. I know I keep saying let me stop. I know I keep saying like let me not be weird. Because I honestly, genuinely, authentically believe that we are going to come to a space where we actually care about each other. When there's not so much indifference and where we're not upset more at inconvenience than we are actual wrongdoing. Or that we don't overly emphasize, overly prioritize, overly critique the wrongdoing of those who were done wrongly, more so than we do like actually realize and act upon the validity of their criticisms and experiences. It's like, oh yeah, I believe you, but you shouldn't be doing this. You should just be rolling over and taking it. Or it's like, girl, okay. You're more upset about this than you are what's actually happening to me. Revolutionary, groundbreaking. Oh my gosh. Some of the most atrocious things on this planet has happened because of a silent and complicit majority. We have the moon, the tower, and strength at the bottom of the deck. This is an energy of like whether or not we can pick ourselves up when things fall apart in the right way, rather than just trying to rebuild what fell apart for like good reason. With the moon in the tower, this is an energy of illumination. And it's a question of if we can, again, if we have the strength to move forward. It's being highlighted and illuminated for a reason, not for, I don't know, funsies. Death is already on the table. Death already came out. What am I doing? Seven of Cups. Oh, I should have known it was the Seven of Cups. The Seven of Cups was the one with the good looking dudes in the bath. No! Dude got cake. Like, what? Oh. And the Ten of Swords. Seven of Cups and the Ten of Swords. When it comes to the Archangel of Healing. Honestly, the Seven of Cups is an energy of reaching for low hanging fruit. It's an energy of not wanting to be challenged. And so with the Ten of Swords, it feels like, let me see if I can rescue it. Here it is. It feels like the divine is trying to liberate us from certain cycles, but because we keep choosing low-hanging fruit, because we choose things that don't lead to any substantial change, it's like our spirit gets stuck halfway out of our body. We can't be completely liberated, and so we continue to experience this pain because we're not doing what we need to do in order for it to be released. If the tower is coming back and then coming back and coming back again, it's probably for good reason. Towers don't just happen for funsies. It doesn't just happen for no reason. So let's get a little bit of clarification on the death. I don't need any clarification on the death challenge, I don't think, but this will be fun either way, I guess. We'll take this one. Look at that, the Lovers. The back of the Queen of Pentacles, the back of the Page of Wands. Top of the deck is the back of the Queen of Cups. Bottom of the deck is the back of the Empress. Like, why are we seeing the backs of all of this feminine energy? Who is supposed to care? Like, does anybody care? Maybe that's why this is our challenge. No, because they're too busy with the Page of Wands. They're too busy focused on what they want and what is or isn't happening in their own lives. There's no room for compassion in a world where we're all just so busy focused on us trying to get to the next whatever. Which is a shame because sometimes helping someone else and being there for someone else, it comes back to benefit yourself even more. And it's not to do it in a selfish way, it just naturally does that. It's justice, it's the universe balancing itself. But if everyone's in an energy of selfishness, then that's the only thing, like, well, that's what universal justice is going to keep bringing us. And then it's like whenever we come into a space of challenge or hardship, we want people to care about us, but we don't want to extend that same compassion to somebody else when they're going through it. But the Lovers is here in the space of the challenge. Can we hold hands? Can we get together? It feels like the Archangel of Healing challenge and the Stronghold of the Grail challenge is the same. Maybe one of these is more internal though than external. We have the external challenges that we have because they directly mirror the internal challenges that we have in learning to love and accept ourselves. And it's like RuPaul said, if you can't love yourself, how in the bleep bleep is you gonna love somebody else? It was just like really disheartening to see every feminine energy who is supposed to be nurturing and compassionate and caring in the space of challenge turning its back. The major and the minor ones. And I truly believe that good doesn't always win. What wins is the dominant frequency. And if our dominant frequency is one of not caring, what else is there to win? When good starts to win, that's because enough people start to care to actually do something. If no one does something, then of course people keep doing what they're doing unchecked. It's like we're manifesting world peace, we're manifesting all of these things in all of these spaces, but when it comes down to actually doing something, or when it comes down to actually embodying that compassion and that caring in a way that it actually affects the physical world, or in a way that it actually puts it out there in the physical world, a lot of times we fall short. And it's because we fall short that we've been in this constant state of decay. The heart of humanity has gone so cold, but it's opening. It's starting to beat again. So that's cool. It'll happen eventually. It is happening. Okay. It's happening, which is actually really cool. So I love to see it. It makes me feel like, we'll actually get there. We'll actually finally be pulled fully out of these cycles rather than being pulled out halfway, but still sort of stuck here. The divine can only do so much, but it's us anchoring ourselves into these spaces. It's almost like he's in a space of meditation to keep himself in this pain where the divine is trying to separate him from it. But because that's where he's anchoring himself, the divine can only get him so far out of it. I know we will. I mean, if we don't, then it's almost like, well, there's no alternative. Either we have an earth or we don't have an earth. So we'll do it. On a series we call Binge Rays, from the Scorpio full moon to 2 weeks after. It's a good show. They've got everything that a lot of it's like America's Next Top Model, it's Project Runway, a little bit of Bad Girls Club, I guess, because sometimes they get an attitude, especially if you watch Untucked sometimes. Oh, I forgot. The reward, the reward from us caring about each other is the keeper. The fully awakened fool. This is the ability to finally comprehend and understand what the divine is trying to tell us every step along the major arcana journey from the magician to the world. But if we can't even connect to each other down here, how are we supposed to connect to the full truth of the divine, which is basically the amalgamation of everybody? How do you connect to the all when you're disconnected from like 99.999% of the all that manifests itself on the earth? Like, you think you just bypass everyone around you and go directly to the all with never learning to have any compassion or caring for somebody else around you? The reward is the keeper. That's why we don't get it. That's why it's so hard to understand and comprehend and make our way through some of these journeys, because we're not open and vulnerable in the most important ways. It's like magic works on the interconnectedness of everything. That's what makes it magic. ET phone home, but they ain't coming. Ain't no if Earth is about to go down, ain't nobody risking it to come and get ET. They're like, ET, you know that on this mission, if you go down there, or if things go south down there, we cannot step in and save you. And ET was like, okay, I'll take that risk because I love them. And then ET gets stuck down here. We all crave connection until it comes time to actually connect with people. But we find our tribes. That's how you find your tribe, and you get in where you can fit in. Okay. Looking for the Fool, we have the Nine of Wands, the Six of Swords, and the Three of Swords, followed by the Tower. This is Ascended Master energy for me. especially after seeing the spirit trying to pull out the spirit of the person in the Ten of Swords. This is Ascended Master energy, who's sitting off to the sidelines trying to give us the information, Ace of Swords knowledge that we need to navigate out of this Three of Swords energy. Because this is us crying for help while we're trying to protect and defend our own selves and our own legacies. And spirit is like this is what you got to do, but we're so busy and distracted by our own hurt and pain that we don't see it. And one of the things that really gets me sometimes is people are like, well, I've suffered too, and I didn't get this, so why should anybody else get anything? And it's like, wow, like if you truly suffered, I feel like you would want somebody to not have to suffer like that. Like the darkness that I experienced, if I could make it so that people didn't have to go through that, I would. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, I had to go through that, so you should too. And so, when I did weekly release number 1, when I was like, I feel like things are about to get easier, like, what? Things are going to get easier. They were hard for me. It's like, get over yourself. Okay. I don't know. I don't want people to suffer just because I know that misery loves company, but I don't need to drag other people into my misery. I just really don't. The Fool. Here we go. The All Gifted, the Ace of Swords. Is there literally any more of an awakened Fool energy? Is there any more of a keeper energy than the All Gifted? The All Gifted is the reward. The keeper is the reward. With the Ace of Swords, like I said, if we can learn to truly connect and honor the divinity within all of us enough to express compassion in a very physical way that actually affects the planet, that would be the key to understanding so much of what the divine has to offer us, has to teach us. Because again, the divine is that which flows through anything, everything, anything and everything. The divine is that which flows through everything that literally establishes itself as it's almost like creator sacrificed its individual self to become all of these different fragments and pieces of its energy so that we can have our own individual experiences. And if the very nature of the divine is that which flows through everything, will you are we going to get anything in a space of isolation and separation and apathy for that which is around us? It's the nature of the divine itself to be present in everything. So therefore, a lot of what it probably teaches us has to deal with or requires the fundamental knowledge and operation within the principle of that which flows through everything. More so in a way where we just talk about it. It's actually like doing it. And then here's the Ace of Swords, the All Gifted, and the ability to begin to comprehend it. The Keeper. This is gorgeous. This is what we have to claim after we make it through the challenge that we're going through right now. All over the world. Ah! I mean, so one of the first things, literally the first challenge that came out was the Queen of Swords. This was the challenge that's like, regardless of what happens on Earth, regardless of what our experience is, are we able to maintain ethics, morality, and integrity? Literally the very first challenge. So, regardless of what everybody else is doing, we still need to be in that. So, we already covered that one, Mimi. And it is no longer a valid excuse. Because divine is like, okay, well, you be acting up just like everybody else. So, and I'm like, I do, but like, they don't know that. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Because it's almost like if that were a valid excuse, like it'd always be the case in some ways. That's not necessarily going to change. Or we can't wait for that to change to begin to do what it is that we need to do, essentially. So, all right. Well, the only one left is air. So, Archangel Commander and the Stronghold of the Zephyrs. Oh, we have the Dynasty, the Discerning One, and the Blind Seer. The Dynasty, 10 of Orbs, the Discerning One, 2 of Wands, the Blind Seer, 2 of Swords. I love this. This is spiritual inheritance. This is the energy of the all in a way that directly affects the experience, but it requires discernment and abidance by that. We are deferring to a higher judgment rather than what our 3D eyes can see down here. And immediately after that is the Holy See. Holy See is like, what they doing over there? Cut that off. Who told them they could do that? Who am I looking for? Oh, yeah. I was like, excuse me? Archangel. Oh. I already saw what it was. Archangel Commander is coming out with such an interesting challenge. 2 majors, 10 and 9. The Wheel of Life is the challenge that the Archangel Commander is giving us. The Erudite is the reward, which is the return of whatever that light is. But it's Lux ex tenebris, light from darkness. So it's the reward is almost something that you would naturally gain in the process of this journey anyway. Almost. Yeah, it's just to help us learn to balance ourselves even more. Let's see. Who am I looking for? Stronghold of the Zephyrs. Page of Swords. I'm gonna go fast and see if I can catch it. Oh, I got it. Girl, like, what is up with this reward? Hello? So we have the 6 of Swords and the Bread of Life outside of this energy. Navigate into a new world with a more universal vision. The challenge here, much like the challenge of the Page of Cups, I guess in this context, it would make sense that the Page of Cups and the Page of Swords hold a similar challenge. That the head and the heart would hold a similar challenge, especially when it comes to connecting with others. It's the 2 of Cups. The joined one is the challenge with the Stronghold of the Zephyrs. The reward is the captor. I could see that. Okay. The reward is the captor. When we have the captor, we can free it. The captor in this deck is the angel. The reward for this is like higher divine communication and collaboration, which again makes sense with what all of these other rewards are. How do we come into these spaces without collaborating more with the divine? It's like we get the right to what has been kept prisoner and we can choose to free it. Now, weird energy would keep this imprisoned and then would use it, right? So don't be a bad weirdo. It's okay to be a good weirdo. It's okay to be quirky and unique. But this kind of weird, like, we don't want to be that old Hierophant weird. Like, no, thank you. Ooh. I'm actually going to honor this. The title card just came out. I'm going to honor this for both the challenge and the reward. The challenge is the 2 of Cups joined one. It says Abyssus, Abyssum, and Wokat. The depths of me call out to the depths of you. Our challenge is not only learning to honor and respect and recognize the divine that lies within us, but to join hands with it and to work with it. And then because we can do that within each other, It grants us access to do that with the divine itself. It's almost like you have to be able to connect with every single individual fragment and piece of the divine in order to connect to the all. If you can't connect to the piece, how could you connect to the whole? I almost don't want to pull anything for the bottom either. Because the challenge is the wheel of life. See the first card. I just said it with the Queen of Swords. No matter what life gives you, it's about holding your ground and maintaining that integrity. No matter how the wheel turns. That's the challenge of the Archangel Commander. That's the power of his blade. His blade is too powerful to have a challenge that was any less challenging. There's too much power here. Because if you're one bad day from destroying the entire planet, girl, like, sorry, but no. Not sorry, but no. It's like, okay, well, I'm good like 99% of the time. And it's like, okay, well, in that 1% of the time, what we don't want is an Earth that no longer exists. So we'll find someone who's good 100% of the time. And you're like, 100%, is that achievable? Divine's like, yes. That's why this challenge came first. And the reward is the erudite. The reward is to have your name written in the book. Honestly, this feels like the energy that was coming out with the angels, where once a long time ago, the divine lived on earth with man. Azazel, angel of sacrifice, taught man how to make weapons so that man could protect himself and that man can hunt. But the angels didn't know that one day man would turn their blades on the angels themselves. That man would covet the power that the angels held and would seek to use their weapons to seize that power. And after Barakiel fell, and after, who was the other one? Satariel fell, that's when Armoros destroyed the pillars that connected the divine to the realm of man, destroyed that which made the angels able to manifest on this plane. And when they went beyond the veil, beyond where humans could go to find them, and enforce the curfew. That's when Penamue, who used to remember the names of man to make them like angels, forgot. What hath been wrought on the fiery hilltop, the statues of man who the angels forgot. That's why we have to conquer this Two of Cups challenge and this Wheel of Life challenge. To liberate that energy and to reclaim the light that lies within us. And again, it's interesting. Here's Abyssus, Abyssum, and Wokat. The depths of you call to the depths of me. Here's the light from the darkness. Here's the light that lies buried deep within us. I don't know if that's actually how it happened, but again, I wouldn't put it beyond man to do that. And it's like, man, well, like if you can't even like coexist with someone who has a little bit more money than you, a nicer car than you, a bigger house, or whatever, if you hit them with an envy energy that big, like I think a lot of us would like to think that we would cooperate with the divine, but why is it like if you ever develop superpowers, or then the government is going to abduct you and dissect you to find out how you work? If you ever come into this ability, if you ever come into this gift, if you ever prove that you're really magic, then the government is going to dissect you and study you and see how it works. And it's like we expect the divine to like manifest itself down here where people can't even be extraordinary without being dissected and studied and stuff like that. All that weird stuff. But we're in a space of proving that opportunity is making itself available again. And if we successfully navigate these challenges, somebody is up to discover something crazy. Like when Elijah was like taken, ascended the physical plane without dying. He was just invited. It's like, oh, here you go, Elijah. Like, welcome. All right, gonna get final messages. I'm actually gonna timestamp this because this is long. I'm gonna say 3:24:30. Ooh, that was like so long. 3:25:00. Just gonna go for it. Excuse me. Oh, I should have said 3:24:30. It's fine. Yeah, it's I feel like it was a lot of stuff that was pretty interconnected, not necessarily new energy, but it's something that's important to remember as we have more and more divine energy trying to settle into this plane more and more. As it's able to step in more and more because of what we've already done. Ooh, the all gifted and temperance. This is one of the gifts, the ability to combine spirit and the physical to create reality. It's like the ability to combine blood and soul into something. Potentially, I don't know. Okay, it's officially 3:25. Can I get a final card from this deck, please? From the oh, that's a lot. We'll take them. Hierophant is here, so bottom of the deck is the wheel, and it's Demeter. I've been saying for a minute now, ever since Demeter came out the first time I got this card when I got this deck. Ceres, Demeter herself, is in a space of learning to let her daughter go. She can't let things die on the earth just because her daughter is going to spend 6 months out of the year with her husband. Like, let your daughter have a life, girl. Let her go. Why do we all got to suffer? Come on. So overwhelmed by her sadness. It's like, well, why don't you go out and find a happiness of your own outside of your daughter? Why don't you find a reason to live your life? That sounds pretty cool to me. Personally. Hierophant, Prince of Wands, Two of Swords, Prince of Cups, Six of Cups. I feel like this is a weird journey. Or not a weird journey. This is the journey from old Hierophant, old systems of belief, to the Prince of Wands. This is us adhering to these systems because we buy into the vision of what they sell us. At the Two of Swords, though, it's a point where we eventually ask ourselves if the demands of the Hierophant, first of all, if they'll actually give us what it is that we want. Secondly, if it's worth the cost. Then we come into this Prince of Cups energy instead of this Prince of Wands, where we get directly from spirit what we need instead of relying on a Hierophant to interpret from spirit. Because when Hierophant is the mouthpiece of spirit, Hierophant can get you to do stuff that the spirit may not even necessarily be saying to do. But when you trust the Hierophant, you listen to him. Two of Swords is the beginning of a reason for you to not trust. But when you listen to spirit, we come into the Six of Cups energy. Six of Cups isn't an immediate reward, but it is a drastic shift in energy. And it changes this energy to the point where we receive more consistently without having those seasons of drought or seasons where we don't experience like any abundance. Because it's like, you have a good thing until your selfishness screws it up or until your ego screws it up. And then you have to go through a period of learning. And in that period and cycle of learning, things have slowed down because you're learning. And it's like, we can keep giving you stuff, but before we give you anything else, we're going to have to ask you to be. It's like when you lose, okay, now they're on the floor, girl. The Two of Swords wants to be at the top of the deck, I guess, because the other cards fell on the floor. Or somebody's still in the space of deciding. Maybe the latter. What is this? How did this get down here? I just found my Purdue P. PTM? It's trademarks. Did they really have to put the trademark on the P pen, though? Really? Was that really necessary? Is the P for pride? I don't know. What was I saying? We're in the space of deciding right now. That's why the Two of Swords will be at the top of the deck. Four of Pentacles, King of Pentacles, Seven of Pentacles, Six of Wands, Queen of Wands. There's a tall order being filled, but we can do it. And there's something so gorgeous that will be available once it's done. I said the Two of Swords wanted to be at the top, and then I proceeded to not leave it at the top. There we go. I got it. I remembered, because we're in the space of actively deciding. Well, do I want to follow the Prince of Wands to the Hierophant energy, or do I want to follow the Prince of Cups to the Six of Cups energy? I feel like that Six of Cups is that time of peace, that golden age and era. P for perseverance. It's that time of peace and that golden age that we've long since forgotten, but that we, what's the word? Crave. A time before the Hierophant was weird. Maybe the Hierophant still existed, but it wasn't weird at that point. I remember when the Hierophant was cool. When the Hierophant cared more about us than money and power and the ability to make rules that people would adhere to and follow. Like, y'all remember when the Hierophant was cool? Let's get back to that Hierophant. Moon in Taurus. The moon is in Taurus right now. Six of Orbs, the giver. The divine giveth and the divine giveth some more. Bottom of the deck is the Hollow Void, moon in Cancer. Ooh. And this year we're going to have two full moons in Leo. New moons in Leo. Two new moons in Leo. One in July, one in August. And that's going to set us back on the full moon first. New moon first. Season instead of the full moon first and then the new moon. Honestly, though, I like the full moon first. Because I feel like with the full moon first, you kind of sort of already have an idea of what you need to release before you come into the space of making something new. Then it's like, okay, well, I already know what I need to let go of to have room to do some new stuff. So I get to clean up and organize before I invite something else into my home, rather than inviting something into your home. And then it's like, okay, well, I need to make room for this. So I can put this here and then that there, and then we can move this here. No, that doesn't work. Well, what if we do it this way? No, that doesn't work either. The feng shui of that is off. Well, what if we do it this way? I don't know. And then before you figure it out, it's like time for the next new moon. With the full moon first, you already know what you need to release. Maybe you've already released it and you can just receive. That's cool, right? People like receiving things, right? We like receiving as people, right? I totally forgot that the Empress wasn't on it this day. Totally. There we go. I'm like, where are my cards? Or where's the box? Hello? I want to read one of these cards now that I can read. Please give me a card to read. Ooh, the Five of Wands. Some healthy competition. Not meant to, maim anybody or injure anybody. The back of the Page of Pentacles. And the back of the... Is this the back or the front? Yeah, this is the back. And the back of the Seven of Cups. Top of the deck is the Knight of Pentacles. It's the back of the Knight of Pentacles. I love that. Because this energy came out earlier. This was a question of whether or not we will nurture something rather than choosing to always take the easy option. Whenever it gets hard to care, then we cut out. With the Knight of Pentacles at the top, Four of Wands at the bottom. We're putting in the work because it's worth it. Love that. That was my love that dance. I'm going to read this Page of Pentacles because I can now. The Knave of Pentacles. This is the inner self side of the Knave of Pentacles. The knave looks toward the sunset, which gleams upon the jagged mountains before him. Clouds are gathering, but the scene is still beautiful. The knave's cloak bears a large rose emblem on the back. An empty golden cornucopia lies among the flowers at his feet. This is a person who wants to follow his bliss. He has turned his back on the cornucopia rather than filling it. He doesn't want to settle down and build a fortune. He wants to set forth and seek his fortune, whatever the risk. Whatever the risk. And then here comes Seven of Cups. Did somebody say risk? I got plenty of risk. Some of these investments will not turn out. Some of them, maybe all of them, who knows? It's a game of chance. You like that, don't you? Test your odds today. I heard that people really are huge fans of the lottery. So that side of the Seven of Chalices. The dreaded swamp is revealed to be just a freshwater pond outside castle walls, and the man is revealed to be blind. Shelter and safety are nearby, but he has chosen to blindly flee into the unknown. His face is transfixed in utter horror. What does he see with his inner sight? The angel is gone, but the cups remain. Things are not as bad as you think they are. You are in a safe place, though it may be uncomfortable, so keep your wits about you. Slowly begin to look around for allies. Accept advice as it is offered. These things will help you back. These things will help put you back in proportion so you can see exactly what steps to take next. In matters of love, avoid escalating an emotional situation through melodrama or blame. Avoid the melodrama of blame. Take patience in nurturing it, giving it some love. Because melodrama and blame are just make everything weird. It makes everything weird. So that's what I got. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that, we can open up our hearts and stuff because, that's really cool. Why wouldn't we want open hearts and stuff, right? So I didn't get a final energy oracle card. I'm actually going to do that. Because this was kind of weird. But it was all part of the journey, so I guess it was fine. Oh, I already got a final card. The final card was the Garden in the Gate. The Garden in the Gate, and he was outside of the castle walls. Sometimes venturing into the unknown is where we find our true happiness. I don't think that castle offered us much of, maybe it had a certain stability to it, but it was a stability of a stagnating variety. It wasn't like an abundance. It wasn't like a fresh abundance continuously flowing. It was castle walls locked in, guarded, protected, isolated from everything outside, and therefore it starts to decay and get stagnant and weird, right? A lot of the castles back in the day aren't around anymore. And in France, yeah, when that when that one humanitarian doctor wanted not an efficient, a humane way to take lives, and it was like really efficient, and then they were rounding up all of the nobles and royals and sending them to the guillotine. There are certain things that we can't neglect. And sometimes it's easier to avoid things and it's easier to ignore things, but they pile up in the background. Shadows get darker in the dark. Imagine that. So I'll catch y'all later. I've already said the thing. I'll say it again. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this, and I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience reality, your reality. Because for those who believe in and align to and act in accordance with miracles and the miraculous and the wonderful, those things happen every day. And sometimes small ways, and sometimes life alteringly small but large ways. And it's gorgeous. You get a whole new world, a whole new chance at experiencing things that maybe you were too afraid to even experience the first time because fear. I said it, you were too afraid. Girl, my floor is wet. Hello? My cup spilled over from the foot soaking. Oh, look, it has another P on it. It's a Purdue cup. Open happiness. Ah. I mean, it's about Coke. It's a Coca-Cola advertisement, but let's open some happiness. Happiness spilled out on the floor when I was doing this. I love that. We got this. We got this. We got it.